try again. There we go. Beautiful. Well, we're live, but we're on like a start screen.
Yeah, I see it.
We need to make sure at least one person says something in chat before we actually start.
Yeah, it was just like
This could be a little
there
standoff.
There were folks waiting,
If nobody says anything, we just never start the stream. We just sit here and just wait for them.
just staring at each other. Oh, somebody said something. Oh,
Traveling Ashlar ruined it. He ruined it for everyone. Now we have to start the stream.
We're all gonna be like, too bad there's nothing.
Okay, here we go. Now we're gonna go.
Top role playing games.
All right, now we're gonna go. All right. Welcome to stream, ladies and gentlemen. So, Traveling Ashlar, I want to thank you. You broke the silence, so we actually could start the stream. We were just gonna sit here and stare at you all. Tonight we're gonna be talking about. We have a couple topics slated up. I have a special guest on, Mike Shea. From slyflourish.com. He's the author of The Lazy Dungeon Master. What is it? The Lazy Dungeon Master Returns?
Return to the Lazy Dungeon Master.
Return to the Lazy. And then didn't you just do a Kickstarter too of something?
I did, yeah. Just finished. We literally just sent the last reward out like yesterday, I think.
Really?
Yesterday?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And then they can get that off your store too, probably. What is it?
Yes, they can already pick it up. It's called City of Arches.
Now
it's
that's like a
high
system,
fantasy city source book for.
But it's like a system agnostic, right? So you can use it for
It's like 90% system agnostic.
Okay.
It's got a little bit of 5e going on in there.
Perfect.
But it's very, very, very easily convertible to just about anything.
Excellent.
And it has guidance for how to do so. Like,
beautiful.
If you love yourself some Shadow Dark, how would you run this with Shadow Dark?
Oh, I love Shadow Dark. That is my system of choice right now.
I was playing a year-long Shadow Dark campaign when I was writing this, so I had it firmly in mind.
That's beautiful. Oh, I know. People are like, you can't run Shadow Dark as a campaign. You proved them wrong. I am in the midst of proving them wrong too, because my plan is I'm literally doing a Shadow Dark campaign. It's beautiful. It's a Godstein campaign. Harmony Ginger influenced the crap out of me there. But anyway, everybody, Mike Shea's contact information, his website is down in the show notes, as he calls it. I call it the description, whatever you want to call it. Whatever. So if you want to get any of his books or this recent city design book, you can go get this all down, click his links and all that kind of cool jazz. So, but tonight we are going to be talking about a couple really cool topics. One of them is just Matt Mercer stepping down as the game master for Critical Role, and then everybody already knows this already, So Brennan Lee Mulligan is going to be taking his place. We're going to discuss that, what we think about that, and then we're also going to talk about. I tagged it the quiet D&D Beyond controversy, but he and I were joking beforehand that it might just be a controversy of one person.
I mean, that's pretty quiet. It could just be my controversy.
It's really quiet. But he has some thoughts on D&D Beyond and why there might be cause for concern that is perhaps being overlooked. So we're just going to talk about that and just kind of talk. I don't really know a whole lot about it. He was just like, Luke, this is something I want to talk about. And I'm like, I like you. You're awesome. So yeah, let's talk about it. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. We do have a giveaway going on during the stream. So there should be a link as long as the Nightbot is working. Nightbot is working. So join that giveaway. Click the link. All you got to do is click a few buttons and crap, and then you can enter to win. We'll draw the winner to the giveaway of $50 DM Lair store credit at the end of the stream. Hopefully I don't forget to do that. Mike, try to remind me. Sometimes when I have guests on, I have once forgotten to draw the winner to the giveaway. And I was like, oh, crap, because I was distracted or something. So we'll do that. Also, our Kickstarter, I should actually say my Kickstarter, because otherwise, it's not Mike's Kickstarter, it's my Kickstarter. But I say our because it's like my team and my Kickstarter.
I'm like, oh, I'm not involved.
No,
sorry, I'm busy.
Yeah, he's busy. But Mike, I was gonna leverage your fame for pledges and stuff, man. Come on, dude. I was like, yeah. Our Kickstarter, Feybound, Trickery of the Wilds, is going to be launching. It's planned to launch in about 1 month. So it will be the biggest Fey-themed expansion for 5th edition that's ever been created. Mike, we literally did research trying to find Fey-themed expansions. Mm-hmm. And we didn't find any. There were a couple that kind of did some stuff, but it wasn't what we have. Zach and I were meeting today, and we were kind of part of what we were doing today was just designing the what do you call it, the outline of the order of things that are going to go in the book, because we had to just make sure that everything's tight, for the book. And then we're listing out all the different content and where it's going to go and stuff, and we're just holy crap. And he said, yeah, but Luke, don't worry. If it's too big, I've already talked to Tiffany. Tiffany's our contact at our publisher. And he said, I've already talked to her, and there's something they can do to the spine to reinforce the spine if the book's too big. And I'm like, I hope it's not that big, dude, because that's a lot.
There's some Herculean stuff on the spine of the book.
That's like too expensive. Like the publishing cost gets higher the bigger the book goes.
Scary.
So I was like, I hope it's not that big, dude, because that sounds scary at that point, because we've never had to do that before. And we've published books that are like 400 pages long, but we've never had to reinforce the spine. So just the fact that he was talking about if we had to, and got a quote from our publisher if we had to, that was scary. I hope it's not gonna be that big. But anyway, we got a whole bunch of cool crap in it. There's links down in the description and stuff if you guys want to follow it when we launch and stuff. But we're gonna have new races, classes, like 10 subclasses, 6 races. There's like an adventure path in there. There's a whole bunch of fake campaign setting. It's huge, dude. We got like tons of crap going into it. Anyway, so follow that, and then let's start talking, dude. So let's do the Matt Mercer thing. All right. So everybody knows this. This was announced on Saturday, I think, at Gen Con. Was it Saturday?
I think it was earlier than that.
Was it? Maybe Friday.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the Darrington Press conference.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, I think you're right. I think it was Saturday, and they had a great big stage presentation about it. Yeah, and with lots and lots and lots of people were there live. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, it's a fun thing to watch. If you didn't watch the video of the announcement, I would recommend.
How long is the video?
It's not long. It was like 15 minutes or so.
Okay, I can do 15 minutes.
It was not bad. And there's some things in there to see.
Really?
Yeah, like, oh yeah. I mean, I could spoil some of it for you.
No, well, I mean, I don't know. It probably doesn't matter at this point.
So they're all playing off the Steve Jobs black turtleneck CEO
yeah.
which was kind of funny, right? They had, they had different people coming out, and Matt Mercer's arguing about who the better CEO is, and Marcia comes out there, and Marcia comes out here, and they're like, oh man, look at her turtleneck's huge. Look at the size of her turtleneck. And then the highlight was Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins coming out dressed in one turtleneck between them, like an Eton, like a turtleneck.
Oh wow! Oh, okay, I got you.
And all I could think of was like, these guys just got hired at Darrington Press, and I wondered, like, during the negotiation, was there like a, hey, by the way, one of your first jobs is to dress up in a giant turtleneck together and go on stage in front of 4,000 people, and we're going to stream it on YouTube? And they'd be like, yeah, that's okay. $1 million retainer, that'll work, right? So, like, I hope they negotiated for a little better bonus for going on stage in a giant turtleneck. But it's pretty funny.
But think about it. Like, one of the first things you get to do is just goof around and have fun.
I like goofing around and having fun. I'm not sure about goofing around and having fun in front of 4,000 people on the number one streaming show in the world. I'd be, I don't know. I have some confidence in front of a camera. I'm not ready to do that. But yeah.
That sounds like fun to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a fun and wild time, and it was interesting to see the crowd's reaction when Mercer said, like, hey, I'm not the GM for this one, and everyone's like, oh my god, and then like, but Brendan Lee Mulligan is, and they're like, oh, and they all lost.
Yes. So my friend Alan from the Dungeon Coach he did the DC 20. All that kind of stuff. Yep. So he loves both Matt Mercer and Brendan Lee Mulligan. They are his favorite, famous DM show people, or whatever you want to call it, Yeah. And so, he was like, what did he do? He woke me up. So we were at Gen Con. He and I roomed together at Gen Con. We share a room. I still have to tell him what he owes me for that room. But anyway, I forgot.
It's probably about $9,000 given the current cost of Gen Con rooms.
I think the room was about $1,200. So Coach, you owe me $600, man, if you're listening. I gotta go find my receipt and push the numbers. But he woke me up. I think it was Saturday night because I'd already gone to bed. And he woke me up and he's like, Luke. He's like, and he's got this video or something, and he's like, look at this. And then he showed the segment where what is it? No. Before I went to bed, he had heard that the Game Master was changing, but he didn't know who it was. He had just heard a rumor that it changed, but didn't know who. Yeah. And so he and I were speculating about who it might be. You know what I mean? And like, I was like, yeah, it's probably going to be like, we were speculating about who it would be, but we were like, the obvious choice, you know what I mean, would be someone of equal skill or better than Matt. You know what I mean? So Brendan Lee Mulligan would be like an obvious choice.
And the same sort of level of optics, right? Like the same sort of the same amount of popularity, or
Yes.
similar amount of popularity. Yeah.
But
I mean, on the other hand, the show itself is so popular, you could probably
and then when it was
find a super
announced,
skilled DM that not everybody did know about, and it would probably work out. But it'd be scary. It's their number one show. Like it's their top. I mean, they do a lot of streaming shows, a lot of different live plays, but that is the big one, right? Like
right. If you
the main campaign is the big one, and they are the number one in the world, right? So it is, it's the single number one most, highest streaming show. So
yeah, because if you picked the wrong game master, somebody,
I know,
if you picked them not based upon their skill, because you were checking other boxes, you know what I'm talking about, like, and they weren't like as good as another option, you know what I mean? Like, oh, that could be rough, But I think they probably, like, I don't watch these things, but I've heard what I've heard. And I think they probably picked like the best they could possibly, like, it's like he's amazing. That's what everybody tells me,
Yeah.
The only thing is that this is what Coach said. He said he's so busy though. How's he gonna have time to do that?
Brendan Lee Mulligan.
Yeah.
They'll freaking make time for this, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, that's true.
They'll find him. I imagine that he figured that out before he said yes.
Well, of course he did. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. It's almost like, it's interesting because you just see Critical Role and Daggerheart and Darrington Press and everything is just kind of like, whoa.
Yeah, and then you wouldn't think, like, there's certain, like, just by sheer regression to the mean, the likelihood of it continuing the shot of popularity is highly unlikely, and yet they still seem to be doing it. So it's really,
right. But it's other RPG systems too. Shadow Dark. The crazy thing is, the core books are usually what make the most money for a game system.
Right.
Look at Shadow Dark.
Yeah.
Its Kickstarter right now was essentially a campaign setting.
Yeah.
And it did better.
It did almost twice as much as
that tells you something about the popularity. The popularity has just been skyrocketing behind the scene. And then DC-20 did really well. So I think it's interesting that a lot of these third parties, third-party publishers, we'll call them third-party publishers, but
I don't even call them third-party publishers anymore. They're independent publishers.
Oh, exactly. Technically, now
they're their own system.
Yes, 100%. They're their own system. But a lot of them began that way, perhaps,
Sure.
But now it's just like these independent publishers are just skyrocketing.
Yeah.
And like I have my own theories, but I literally was like,
you throw Cosmere in there. You're right.
Oh gosh, yes. I back that one.
Massive RPGs.
That one I should be getting. I keep getting announcements from it. I think the PDFs are supposed to be ready-ish very soon, and then the print books, I don't know, at some point. But yeah, like I've read the first trilogy of Brandon Sanderson's Mistwalker. What is it?
Mistborn.
The Mistborn. I read the Mistborn trilogy, and oh geez, it's so well written. It's just oh gosh, it's amazing. And then the person who's recommending this stuff to me told me that like the what's the other one after it? After the Mistborn is the something or other. He said that one's even better. And I'm just like, how can it be better? Jeez. So
yeah, and then you look at like the ENnie winners, right? And ENnie winners and the runners up, and there's more, Land of M, which is very popular.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of like indie RPGs, mostly that are kind of coming out of the OSR space.
Oh, okay.
But like Land of M is sort of a, I'm going to say a family friendly RPG that still kind of is in that sort of rules light take.
Okay, what defines a family friendly as opposed to like?
So art is a big piece, right? Like having art that isn't like giant gruesome demons.
Oh, so giant gruesome demons is not considered family friendly, all for like younger kids and stuff.
I mean,
yeah, I can see
fine
that.
for my family, but I don't have any kids, so
I wouldn't. Yeah, I would.
Youngest person in my family's 52, so
I wouldn't think twice about showing my daughter's out of the house now, but. I wouldn't think twice. My wife would probably not like it, but I wouldn't think twice about showing her a picture of like a monster. Like, look at this thing, this gibbering mouther. Actually, my daughter had nightmares. So do you remember there was this Captain Crunch game, this Captain Crunch board game? Do you remember Captain Crunch? It used to be like a cartoon.
Sure, the cereal or
Well, there's a cereal, but there was like there were cartoon characters that went along with it, and so like there was something called the Uzis, I believe. They were this like amorphous like ooze type creatures. And like I had this Captain Crunch board game and like had Captain Crunch and then a couple Uzis and then somebody else. And it's a very innocuous game. It's not a big deal. It's kind of like Monopoly or Candyland or something, you know what I mean? I didn't think anything of it. But this was my daughter was about 6, I think. She was in kindergarten. And apparently the Uzis, these little miniatures, caused her to have nightmares,
Oh, really?
And they just looked like little oozy slime things. Not a big deal. I didn't think it was a big deal, but it was scary to her. So, okay, I guess demons to little kids is probably not family friendly. Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair point.
Yeah. And then the other game that's getting a lot of attention that I think either won or was a runner up for an Emmy was His Majesty the Worm. I don't know if you heard that one. It's great. Isn't that a great name? His Majesty the Worm.
Yeah,
and that is an old school style, heavy like mega dungeon crawl game that uses a tarot deck for sort of the GM side of organizing things. So instead of having random tables and dice, they use a tarot deck.
Interesting.
People really like it. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but
that's really interesting.
yeah, that won a silver for best game and best rules. Exalted Funeral.
Oh, I know. I've heard of Exalted Funeral before.
Yeah, they make a lot of really great. So there's so many great games.
Yeah, that's crazy. But anyway, yeah, it seems like a lot of the independent ones are doing really well. You hear more about them.
Yeah.
Okay, so Matt Mercer, why? So I guess I want to speculate on why we think he stepped down, right? Because obviously everybody loves him. He by all measures that I'm aware of, he was doing a great job.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
So I have my thoughts on why he stepped down. What do you think?
Well, we're purely speculating, right?
Yes,
I have no
100%.
data on it, and also I'm not a huge Critical Role watcher, right? Like I'm always interested in what's going on with them, but not, I don't have the kind of time to be able to keep up with a 5-hour a week live stream show. Sometimes people just want to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what his role is in the company and how much time is spent on that.
Yeah.
But it could be that, like, look, trying to keep this game fun and interesting can be pretty, can be a lot. And if they can bring in somebody whose sole role is running that game, and they know Brandon Lee Mulligan is good, right? I've actually watched more of his games than I have of Matt Mercer's games.
I have too.
And so I think that there might be like, there's also sort of like the compounding side of it, which is like people will still watch it just to watch Matt Mercer as a player. So it's not like they're losing him. He's still playing.
Correct.
And so now they get to watch him play. And I've seen Matt Mercer. They did Bloodstone Keep or something like that. They did this incredible. I don't know if you've seen it. It was one of my favorite live stream shows that I've seen. Was like, Escape from Bloodstone Keep or Attack on Bloodstone Keep. And it was a ripoff of Lord of the Rings from the point of view of like the villains.
Okay.
And it was just fantastic. It was so good. And Brandon Lee Mulligan was the DM, and Matt Mercer was one of the players. And it was so funny.
Can I ask you, so it's called, what is it called? Attack on Bloodstone Keep?
I got to look it up.
All right.
Yeah, because I don't remember.
And can you tell me offhand, is there a million F-bombs? I can't watch stuff with F-bombs. I just can't do it.
There is probably a lot of F-bombs.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
But I don't know. I would give it a shot and see how many you hit before you tune out. Because it is so good.
What's the name?
And here's the real. It's a limited series. It's short.
Oh,
right?
That's even better.
You can get through it in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, you have to let me know what the name is because I might take a peek at it.
I think it's called Escape from the Blood Keep.
Escape from the Blood Keep?
Yes, Escape from the Blood Keep. It's available on YouTube. And and the whole idea is that it's like, 4 or 5 Lord of the Rings villains who are dealing with the fact that some jackass is showing up and trying to destroy the Ring of Power, right? And it's hysterical. Like one of them is like the Spider Queen and her brood, and one of them is one of the wraiths. And he said like he had an intention of like them all killing each other, and it totally didn't go that way. Like the game, and it shows that like this is one of the things that you see with these is like these are really high production, high value shows, and they don't have any idea where the game is going to go. Right? There's a common thread of like, oh, this is all, and I hear it all the time. Oh, there's just acting, right? They already know. They've already got a plot. This whole thing is just staged. No. And you're like, it's you can tell it's not.
No,
like if you pay attention, you know that there's a lot of improv that happens. This doesn't mean they're not doing a bunch of prep. It doesn't mean they don't talk ahead of time about things.
Right.
But like I'm confident to say that like Escape from the Blood Keep did not go the way Brennan intended it to.
Oh yeah,
and it was awesome, right? He improv so much, and then of course there's stuff he didn't improv because they had table-sized 3-dimensional props, right? And you're like, well, obviously they were going there one way or the other.
So, I think that is a huge misconception. The people that think that those are all staged or planned to a great degree and just kind of like scripted and stuff, and it's not the case. Like, now what actually happens, I believe, is that you simply have consummate professionals that show up, and they all know what their goal is: entertain the audience. They're there to support each other, to help each other. So the players are there to support the ongoing story and narrative that's being collectively told. They're not there to...
they're not doing it at the end of a workday.
And they're not doing gotchas
tired and
to
like,
the game
I just came here to drink a
master.
beer.
They're not like, arguing rules for the sake of arguing rules. They're literally there. It's like our job.
Although there's some rule stuff that goes on, right?
There?
Like I haven't really seen it, but I have heard that there are moments where they're all kind of scrambling around with some stuff. So
well, I mean, I know that sometimes they don't know the game system very well, so they have to look things up or something. I've heard.
But I mean, I've seen it where they're like, oh, we got to figure out how this works, right? Like
well, that's fair. That's fair.
What I've heard. Again, I haven't really.
But I guess the point I'm trying to make is just that, like, they are just professional entertainers, and that's what they're on the clock.
And their drive, right? The drive of a live play show is just different.
Than the pressure, dude! The pressure. Oh, absolutely, because you're live and you're live. You got to go.
I think the pressure, that was something that changed, I think, in the last season, right? Is they switched to doing it. They don't do it live. They pre-record it and then show the recording.
I
think it was because they're like, it could go bad, right? Things could happen that we don't want to immediately broadcast to 60,000 live or whatever it is.
No, but that changes the dynamic. So, they should do it live.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, most of these are like a lot of. I think almost everything they're doing these days are pre-recorded, other than the Madison Square Garden. Like, let's have 70,000 people in our audience while we're playing a game.
Well, I think if I
completely understand with the amount of that pressure, right? With the amount of pressure they have on them, with the like the wrong thing could.
What are they worried? Like what's the wrong thing?
Who knows? Somebody just says something that's taken the wrong way.
Oh gosh, they got to police their speech because jeez.
Maybe
I don't know. Well, I mean, my assumption would be, if they were doing it pre-recorded, my assumption would be you have a bunch of busy people, and so the way that I would do this, or I would consider doing it, if it was hard getting everybody together like once a week or however often they play. How often do they play? Is it once a week?
It's weekly, right?
Yeah. So if it's hard to get them all together weekly, that would be where you're like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna batch these together. So these 5 days, we're gonna get together,
and we're
gonna record as much of this as we can to like space it out then over 2 months.
Right. That's what they do with a lot of the other streams. Yeah. So a lot of their short run ones, they record them in either like 1 or 2 sessions and then break them up into 2-hour blocks and then cut them that way. And you can tell because like, hey, they're wearing the same clothes for 4 sessions in a row, and then the next one, hey, they got new clothes, right, for another 4 sessions.
If they
can tell where they're breaking it up.
If they didn't give an official reason as to why they were pre-recording them,
they did.
They did.
It was more. It was 2 years ago.
Well,
when they started doing this.
Well, I know that official reasons aren't always the actual reasons either. So it could just simply be to coordinate schedules or something. It could be something as simple as that. I don't know. Because they're all very busy people. But anyway, so Matt Mercer quitting as game master. So, I mean, I think my thoughts are similar to yours. It's just you're super busy running and doing everything. Because he still does voice acting too, right? Like, isn't he still doing a bunch of voice acting? Or is he done with that? Do we know?
I don't know. I mean, I know that some of them have continued to do voice acting work.
Okay.
So.
Because I would imagine, like, if you're voice acting, you're the game master on a weekly show, okay, that requires a lot of prep. Because you have to be on. You got to put on a nice show. So that's going to require a lot of prep. And then you're also running your company. You have Darrington Press. I'm sure. I mean, Darrington Press is like their little publishing arm, but I'm sure he has
little publishing arm.
Yeah, I'm sure he plays a role in that. Right. So at some point when you're like the CEO manager person, you have to be like, dude.
I mean, Matt's not even the CEO, right? Like Travis is the CEO.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Yeah, he's like Matt's like chief creative guy.
Okay. Yeah, but at some point you're like, you look at your schedule and stuff, and you're just, I can't live this way any longer, man. We got to make a change.
And a lot of things could change, right? A lot of things could change. I mean, it's interesting because like the one that I have heard about was Chris Perkins, who did streaming games for a long time, and Chris Perkins had stated that like he does not like it. Right? Like he would do these shows at PAX, right? He would do the Acquisitions Incorporated shows at PAX, and he's like, I'm an introvert. Like, the last thing in the world I want to be is in front of 4,000 people. But it sort of fell in his lap because he started doing these small podcasts before anybody listened to them.
Right.
And then they grew and grew and grew and grew. And they're like, well, you still got to DM it, right?
Yeah.
So I could just see people, it's a lot of pressure, right? And it's a lot of pressure for a lot of time, right? I mean, 5 hours a week or however long they're doing it. Like, that's a lot to keep up.
Yeah.
So
No,
I could see them wanting a change. But yeah, I think like they really, nailing it with or getting it with Brendan Lee Mulligan as the new one was really.
Oh yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, that was.
It's interesting. Like I kind of lost track of. And I didn't lose track, but I didn't really keep up with his general popularity. But I had a friend of mine at work who's relatively new to RPGs, and she really loves streaming shows, right?
Yeah.
And she said at one point, she's like, "Have you ever interviewed?" And you do like YouTube stuff, right? And I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "Did you ever interview any of these people?" I said, "Yeah, I interviewed Matt Mercer," and she's like, "You did?" And she goes, "Oh, if it was Brendan Lee Mulligan, I'd be really impressed." And I was like, "Wow!" Like, I'm not insulted, but like, wow, really? And she's like, "Yeah, he's great." And I was like, "Wow!" Like, that's the first time I heard anybody put anybody higher than Mercer as far as like a GM you're looking for. And then she went to the when they sold out Madison Square Garden for a Dimension 20 game.
Yeah.
She was there, right? She went to that.
Okay.
She went to that show, and she's like, "Oh, it was amazing." And I'm like, I can barely stay through my own game, much less like watch someone else play a game for 4 hours.
Yeah.
But like, they had a blast, and it's just, I mean, God, I can't, it's just amazing how popular, these like live play games are, and remaining, continuing to grow and continuing to be popular. I mentioned before the show that NPR they just posted an article about D&D and live play games, and they talked about Dimension 20, they talked about Critical Role, and they show pictures, and there's like, I don't know if you saw it, but they have like the big ring where they have the games, and there's fire roaring up around it, and I'm like, man, I got to step up my home game. Like, I don't have giant propane flames roaring around my friends when we're playing our games, right? Like, I hit him with a couple of fireballs yesterday. I could have used that.
Yeah.
Right. Make him get a little bit more 5-dimensional.
Dude. But like I just have a simple table back here. But it takes me like.
Is that a fold-up table?
Yeah, it's a plastic fold-up table. Yeah, it's 2 of them. It's 2 plastic fold-up tables. That's all it is.
Perfect. Yeah.
With like some chairs around it.
As it turns out, that's really all you need.
It's all you need. And I'll tell you what.
Good game. Like, I drew a box with a little door on it yesterday, and we had a whole scene. That was that box. Now, granted, I had a Dwarven Forge, nice 3D Dwarven Forge set up right before then, where they walked through a portal and ended up in a battle between 10 mages, and that was they found that out.
I love miniatures and painting minis. Yeah. Love that crap, but I am not into the terrain. It's too much.
My wife got me hooked into it.
It's not just the buying it and storing it, but it's the preparation.
Yeah, setup takes a while.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it is enough. Like this little jankety setup that I have here.
Yeah.
It still takes me like 2 hours to get ready to run a game in person. You know what I mean? And
I got a book that might help you out with that.
Well, no, that's not my prep for the game. That's like cleaning my basement up a little bit.
Cleaning up. Oh,
cleaning up, putting the stuff over there, putting cushions.
I don't have a book for that.
No, it's just getting my DM screen, picking out my minis that I'm going to use, just getting everything kind of ready. It takes me a little bit of time. You know what I mean? Yeah. The real prep of like planning the adventures and stuff, like I don't mind that. You know what I mean? But like just setting up the space. And then after they leave, putting everything away, taking care of things. It's like, oh my gosh.
Dwarven Forge is the terrain that I use, and they did a couple of things that really made the quality of life better. One was like they have magnetic trays and magnetic pieces, so you can build whole rooms and then store them. And you can, I have pizza racks, and I can slide them into pizza racks.
Okay.
And in some cases, like I don't take them apart, so I might use the same room a few times and just change some of the stuff in it. No one has any idea that it's the same one that I used like 2 weeks ago.
So you bought a pizza restaurant just to store your Dwarven Forge?
Just the racks. Yeah, the pizza restaurant was going out of business, so I just bought the racks. Yeah, they're just these little like foldable racks, and they're great. They sit right inside of like the IKEA shelves, and you can slide.
Yeah. Okay.
So that way in like 4 shelves, I can store eight 1 foot by 1 foot pieces. For anything that I've got. So
yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, it's totally unnecessary. It doesn't. I've actually done some polling of my players, like sort of without them really knowing exactly what I was saying. Like, how much did you enjoy this game on a 1 to 10? And they give me a number. How much did you enjoy this game on a 1 to 10? And there is like maybe a 5 to 10% bump when I use Dwarven Forge over when I don't use Dwarven Forge, right?
Well, I tell you, I was in a game, this is years ago, but I was in a game a few sessions, and this guy had invested thousands in Dwarven Forge, okay? Yeah. But I'll tell you what, he sucked as a game master.
Yeah, right. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
The Dwarven Forge is not going to pull it off for you. Yeah.
The Dwarven Forge is not going to make up for basic
working with your
deficiencies.
players. Yeah. Work with your players. Think about their characters. Think about what they want when they come and sit down at the table. Like there's things you can do. I preach this all the time. There's things you can do that are absolutely free that can that can really make your game more enjoyable.
Oh, for sure.
And
absolutely.
And a lot of it is just like relaxing, right? Like just relax. Like relax,
Don't worry.
Think about them, right? Put the characters in the spotlight and make them look cool.
Yeah. Have a beer, calm down.
Yeah, calm down, right? Like your story's not so special.
And your story's going to be different by the time the players get.
And it's going to be different. Right? Don't have one. I had a great. I know we're totally tangent, but like I had a great moment where I have a player that had just recently joined my game. He's been playing at my game for a couple of months now. Really great guy. And I ran this scenario where they like had to infiltrate a tower, and they're like, and they ended up literally like transforming one of them into a. Was it an elephant? They had transformed into an element, cast fly on him, so they're flying on the back of this polymorphed elephant to the top of the tower, getting attacked by giant sturges and chasmes, and it's chaos and madness. And they get up to the top of the tower and break down. And I went in to like go get a yogurt or something. Like I'm taking a break, and I walked away, and I heard him say, "Man, I bet we've totally ruined Mike's plan." Right? And I'm like, dude, you talk like I had a plan. Right? Like I don't, there's no plan to break, man. Like I just set the tower up and I'm going to see what you guys do. Right?
Absolutely.
Like, that's my secret, Cap. I have no plan.
I call it, and I call that creating the situation. So
that's exactly right. Create the situation. Build a situation and watch them navigate.
Right. I don't have a solution for how you can overcome this. Right. I don't have a path through it. I don't know what you're going to do, but I have created the dungeon. It is a thing. And it exists. And I know what's in the dungeon. I know where the monsters are. I know who the bad guy is. I know everything. But I have no idea what you're going to do. No idea what you're going to do.
A way to kind of force, you probably know, you know this, but like a way to force myself to do that is have 3 entrances to the dungeon. And give them all 3. And that way I have no idea. There's no way I could know, right? I have ensured that I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, we publish stuff and we commission maps from cartographers, and one of our requirements of a dungeon map is there must be more than 1 entrance. Preferably 3. Right. 3 entrances, because we don't want the party to be locked into going in one way. Now it could just be usually when I'm running a game, I will tell my players about 1 entrance. But it's up to them to look around for more if they want it. Usually, you know what I mean. So
the reverse dirty trick is if you offer a secret entrance, that's almost always the one they'll take. So you have to be, I have to be careful about offering 3 entrances and make them all compelling, because otherwise you're like, I know they're gonna go. As soon as they find the one hidden under a rock, like, that's the one. Like,
but that's why you make that entrance the most dangerous one.
Yeah, right. And you're like, it's filled with teeth. Right. Like,
it's like a tunnel filled with teeth.
Right. Tunnel filled with teeth.
You're literally going into the belly of a
toothy giant
serpent.
Dead worm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
anyway, critical role.
So like, to me, when I think about what game system they're going to use for season 4, I'm like, for me, my business brain is like, you would be complete fools, if you didn't use Daggerheart. Like, why wouldn't you?
It's interesting they didn't announce it, but I think you're right, and I think I would give very high probability to them using Daggerheart.
Yeah.
Not necessarily 100%, but I would say it. And I polled some folks on my Discord server, and they were almost unanimous that it was going to be Daggerheart. And I can't imagine it isn't. And that, like, what's interesting is whatever they pick is still going to be fascinating. If they pick Daggerheart, that's still fascinating, because it'll be the first time that like the entire show now has broken away from 5e. Right. The whole show is now separated from D&D, and what does that mean for them, and what does that mean for Wizards of the Coast and for D&D? Right. That's a big change.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I probably before Gen Con, I don't think I'd have given 50-50 odds, but I don't think I would have said it was so clearly going to be Daggerheart. But then I watched their the Darrington Press panel that they did.
Yeah.
And it was like, God, they're just, they're pouring so much energy into it. And the people that they've hired. And, You know, like it was one thing to have like Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins going out there talking about the new stuff they're going to be making for Daggerheart.
Yeah.
And you're like, I just listened to them for 15 minutes talking about new campaign adventures, and it wasn't D&D. These guys worked at Wizards for more than 15 years, right? They've been there. Chris Perkins has been there for like 30 years.
Yeah.
And to hear them talking about something other than D&D is completely alien to my mind.
Yeah,
and
but it's awesome. It is awesome.
It's
you
yeah,
know?
it's great.
Yeah.
It's just wild. But then they're like, oh, and also we're going to have a new world, and Keith Baker's going to make it, the guy who made Eberron. And you're like, holy cow, seriously?
So check this out. I grew up playing Forgotten Realms.
Together Studios, yeah.
I grew up playing Forgotten Realms by Ed Greenwood. And then I discovered Eberron by Keith Baker. Oh my gosh, Eberron is like my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Oh, I love Eberron.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh my God, like. And then you're like, well, what's Wizards doing? They're like, we got 3 supplements that are going to be D&D Beyond only.
Wizards
right? Like, seriously.
Well, I mean, Wizards has like. Well, the interesting thing is that, and honestly, like, Wizards kind of did this themselves. The OGL and other flukoffles that they had. They literally were like in their great greed. They somehow ended up with a gun in their mouth and pulled the trigger.
That's right.
Because now they are...
As Jerry Holcomb said from Penny Arcade, it's like, you walked into this water, you could turn around and walk right back out. Like,
well, you know,
that was when they were in the middle of it. He said that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Well,
you have caused this. You have caused this problem all on your own, and only you could get yourself out of it.
They have an escape.
And they did, and it's not helping.
No.
Like this is,
No, because look at everything that we, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Almost everything that we see happening right now, not all of it, but like to a great degree. So Shadow Dark was planned before the OGL, but the fortuitous timing of it, like Shadow Dark is amazing, and it would have done well anyway, but the timing of it was perfect to skyrocket it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then
it nailed multiple things, right? Like Shadow Dark hit the it's really tapping into the OSR sort of feeling, which people really wanted.
Yep.
It's still 5e, so people are very familiar with the mechanics and understanding how it plays, right? Like anybody who's played 5e is not gonna get lost at all in Shadow Dark.
Correct.
And it really was like, I mean, Kelsey's video, like I almost cried. Like when she did her video about what was going on with the OGL and how that was propelling her to make Shadow Dark. And it was the first like positive video I saw that was really like, F you, we're going, right? Like I'm making this thing. And you know, and I'm going on, and I was like, wow, like that's everyone else, including myself, was just complaining. And she's like, I'm you know, I'm roaring ahead. So yeah, she really just nailed that and it's a I love Shadow Dark.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Kelsey's such a fantastic creator.
Yeah, she's at a lot of the conventions I go to, and she's awesome.
Yeah, no, I met her. I finally met her at there's a convention here called Page, the Philadelphia.
I'll be there this year.
Oh yeah, oh that's right. Yeah. Oh, I know. I met you at Gamehole Con, right? That's where.
Yes, we did. Yep.
Yeah.
You're taller. You look really. You're taller than I am. Everybody's taller than I am. What am I saying?
Yeah. And then the other one was Tales of the Valiant, right?
Yes.
Global Press put out Black Flag. They said we're not putting up with this either. We're putting out Black Flag.
They should have kept Black Flag as their title.
I mean, so they did kind of, right? The open version of the game, their system reference document is still called Black Flag.
Oh, is it? Okay. So you have Tales of the Valiant, and then you have DC-20. The OGL was the thing that caused Coach to say, "Screw it, I'm doing this. Let's go, baby." You know, and then you have Daggerheart, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? Many of these companies may have. I know Coach was already planning this. We know Kelsey was.
Yeah, and I know Global Press was too. Global Press said that they were already thinking about it.
So I think a lot of people were already planning this, but
it just propelled them forward.
It probably gave them the I want to kill you to get going on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the timing of it just propelled it. You know what I mean? And gave it some wings.
Right.
Because
Draw Steel. Someone just mentioned.
Draw Steel. That's right. Yeah. So when I know that when the OGL happened, all my friends came in and they were just like, I don't want to play D&D anymore. What are they trying to do? They were like, everybody was buying different game systems. So anyway, they did it to themselves. And what I think is amazing is that they're like laying off or firing, or their senior game designers and stuff like Crawford and Perkins see the writing on the wall and they're leaving before it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then Jess Lanzillo, right? Jess Lanzillo was the head of the D&D brand. She was I don't think she was there for more than a year.
Okay.
And she left. And, you know, so Perkins, I was not surprised at Chris Perkins. Like, I had heard Chris Perkins say, like, look, I've been here 30 years.
Right.
I'm ready to, like, go. And the funny bit is, and I was like, you know, I'd heard him say it, and I was like, that's never going to happen. He was like, I'm going to, like, go in the woods by myself for a while and not do anything with role-playing games. I'm like, there is no way you're not doing something with role-play. You don't do that for 30 years and then stop doing it.
Dude,
and sure enough,
because somebody, dude, he's gonna, because this is what's gonna happen. He's like, I'm done. I'm gonna take a break, and then you know, then Darrington Press comes along, and they're just like, hey, Chris. What does this number look like to you? And he's like, that number looks very nice.
How would you like to? Yeah, right. Like, you know, how would you like to be on top of this? And by the way, you can write your own ticket when it comes to the creative work you're doing.
Oh, sure.
Right? And you don't have a publicly traded company above you.
Oh, yeah.
That's got shareholder margins.
Yep.
They have to meet, right?
Yeah. So what I see is like Wizards of the Coast essentially de facto getting rid of a lot of their really good talent. And that good talent
losing the talent, yeah.
Right. Well, yeah.
In some cases it was them, in other cases they left.
Sure.
Yeah.
But de facto, they're leaving one way or another, right? And so, but all of that amazing talent is going to other companies to help propel their RPGs forward.
Yeah.
You
now,
know?
in fairness, like there are great designers that are still at Wizards of the Coast. Like, you know, Justice Ramin Armand is an excellent designer. You know, he made one of my favorite supplements for an adventure that Wizards of the Coast put out. That kind of the adventure kind of sucked, and he's the one that fixed it before he was hired on for Wizards of the Coast.
Which adventure was this?
So the adventure was Descended to Avernus.
Oh yes,
and he wrote a supplement for it called The Fall of Elturel, which was a new introduction to that adventure that made it far better. Like it fixed it, right? It fixed a major flaw, which was, why do we care?
Oh yes.
You know, we're supposed to go to hell to rescue Elturel. Why do we care? And his whole adventure is, this is why you care. And I ran that module for my home group, and my wife cried because of some of the emotion that part of the adventure had. And I was like, well, she's hooked.
That was a major problem of Dungeon of the Mad Mage too. There was no reason to do it. There's no reason to go into the dungeon.
Right.
You know,
I've stayed. Yeah, I've run out of Scarlet Citadel by Kobold Press had the problem too of like, this is the most dangerous place in the world. You're like, well, never mind. Like, I'll go be a farmer. Why am I going down in there?
Yeah.
Luckily, I was able to add some stuff. But yeah, it's a common. Yeah. So there's still, you know, James Wyatt is still there. James Wyatt has been making D&D stuff for 20 years, and he's still at Wizards of the Coast. Mackenzie D. Armas is there, and she's excellent. So there's still a lot of good design talent. And one thing is, like, I always have to kind of separate both in my mind and when I'm talking, that like the design team is different to me than like the company. Right, or the executives, and then some of the choices that are getting made about what to do with D&D, and you know, I mean, the design is the design. There are good designers there. There are also good designers that are in other companies as well. But yeah, I think like it's hard for me to look and see the top two leads of D&D 2024 left within a couple of months of the new version coming out, and the head of the D&D team left and went to White Wolf, and you're like, that's a big drain.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big, like, you got to wonder if they were like, hey, this is the new direction we're going with D&D, and like, yeah, we're not on board with that. Maybe. So I don't know, but you know, on the other hand, I know that like there's the new executive producer for D&D is named Greg Bilsland. Greg Bilsland got me started as a freelancer for Wizards of the Coast back in the 4th edition days. He's a great guy. And now this, you know, Dan Ayub, who I don't know, seems to be reaching out to the actual D&D community to say like, hey, I want to work with you guys on the game that we all love, not just turn it into another, you know, IP thing for.
Well, I mean, I hope that they do some good stuff, because like what I've been hearing from a lot of people is just like a decrease in product quality over the last couple of years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I don't know. I mean, it's hard.
It's always anecdotal. It's always anecdotal, and it's always personal preference and stuff. But like, I have people that are like, I don't really buy their stuff anymore. It seems like the quality is going down. It's not what it used to be. I don't like it as much or something. And I don't know to what extent to interpret that as like disenfranchisement of like just D&D in general, or they're actually critically, you know, and logically judging the products. You know, it's hard to tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because like among my friends, including a bunch of people that write for RPGs and are freelancers for RPGs, and also just friends of mine, I'm like the guy who likes D&D 2024 the most.
Oh gosh.
Right? And it's, you know, I'm like, I'm pretty good with it. Like I've now been using it on the DM side for 2 different games, and one of my main games, half the characters are using D&D 2024 characters, the other half are using a mixture of Level Up Advanced 5e and D&D 2014. And and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty clean. It's easy for me to find stuff in the books. The monsters hit good and hard. Like a lot of the system, I'm like, I'm pretty good with it, right?
No,
like,
they fixed the monsters.
They fixed a lot of spells too. There were a lot of spells I had problems with.
There were some they screwed up. Spirit Guardians now is very, very ambiguous.
Yeah, right. But then they fixed like the conjure, right? The conjure animals. You're like, oh, thank God I don't have a player with nine turns.
Oh, good.
No more 8 wolves instead.
Yeah.
But then I have a friend of mine who's like, I actually hate it because of that. He's like, I thought like summoning the wolves was fun, and now that's not fun. It's now 12 different versions of Spirit Guardians.
No, like, it was fun for you. Everybody else at the table hated it.
I know, right, exactly. And there were a lot of spells like that. Counterspell is a spell like that, right? Players, you never heard a player ever say, "Oh, I love Counterspell" when it's cast on me.
I hate it.
Right? No one ever says it, right? Everyone hates it when it's aimed at you, but they love it when they're the one casting.
But I'm the game master. It's always aimed
at me.
Right? I hate it. It's like I have this cool monster, cool spell casting, and now
want to cast a spell,
and they don't get to do anything. Well, that game was fun. Thanks, guys. Right. I hate Counterspell. I've had videos where I rant about how bad Counterspell is. Because my pet peeve about Counterspell is that it falls into the category of mechanics that essentially makes it so that people don't get to play the game.
Yeah,
like, the player who was paralyzed for 10 rounds, or the player who got polymorphed, or the player who got banished to a different plane, or died 5 minutes into the game and then doesn't get to play the whole game session. Like, anything that takes a player out of the game and doesn't let them play the game is bad mechanic. Right. Counterspell is a horrible mechanic when it's happening to you. And as the game master, it happens to me all the time, and I hate it. I have an agreement with my players. If you don't counterspell me, I won't counterspell you.
Yeah, the mutually assured destruction, right? If I won't counterspell you, you don't counterspell me. I have that same rule. Yeah. Yesterday it was funny. I mentioned that I ran in a game where they went into a room where 10 wizards were fighting each other, right? And they walked through a portal and immediately got hit by 2 fireballs, and then they're all getting blasted and just cones of cold and everything are roaring through the room. And then 2 of the guys threw cones of cold that were going to hit the characters. And I look over at my friend who's playing the wizard, and he's like, I counterspell? And I'm like, the other wizard counterspells, and the other wizard counterspells. And I'm like, 10 counterspells go off, and all it did was create this psychic blast that did like 10 damage to everybody in the room. And then all the wizards stopped and said, new rule, no one counterspells. So they had this one rule that all the wizards follow, which is nobody's going to counterspell because 9 other wizards will cast counterspell, and it'll just be a madhouse.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was my little dig at counterspell, but So I don't know. I mean, I picked up the Dragon Delves book that just came out that Wizards put out, and it looked really good to me. I haven't run any of the adventures in it, but it looked fine. So I don't know. They kind of interesting. But I'll tell you, like. Watching the videos coming out of Gen Con and seeing the announcements, I mean, like, wow, did like Darrington Press and Critical Role, in my opinion, steal the show as far as like what RPG is kind of on top.
You were telling me about that. So what exactly was going on?
Well, so with Daggerheart in general, or with
that announcement?
How they so they had a Darrington Press panel. And that was where they had like Crawford and Perkins going and talking about the new stuff that they're making for Daggerheart and a new Kickstarter that's coming out where they're going to have class decks. So if you want to play Daggerheart, but you don't want to buy a whole book to do it, you can just buy the 1 deck of cards for your class.
Okay.
And it has everything in it that you need to play. And then they talked about the new world that they're developing. They talked about a new romance, a new romance based campaign that they're building, and they just had all these announcements. There was so much energy and people cheering for every single thing they're doing. And then I like Wizards of the Coast had like a press panel, and there was some talk about like the some of the big things of like D&D maps will be available without a premium subscription, right? And some other stuff, and you're like, man, it's not quite the same level of energy I've seen at the other place.
I was invited to a D&D, like Wizards of the Coast press panel, but it was on Wednesday from 12 noon to 5 p.m. And I'm like,
wow, that's a big day.
But here's the thing. Check this out. Gen Con officially starts on Thursday.
I know, Thursday, right?
And so like most people are getting in Wednesday evening. Yeah, right. As was I. And so I'm just
I guess I'm going to miss it. Might have missed a bag of swag.
I RSVP'd to it because I was hoping to make it, but it never happened. And I'm just like, why would you schedule it when nobody's there? I don't understand.
And I didn't really hear much. I mean, the one thing I heard for Wizards where I'm like, oh, that's really interesting, is like the new starter set from the people I talked to that ran lots of games using it and saw players playing it.
Yeah.
The new D&D starter set apparently really kicks ass.
I've heard that it's good.
I've heard it's really good. Yeah. So I'm very eager to see it. It looks really solid. It may be like the D&D product of the year, right? And
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see that. And that is another one where, like, if they can get into all the right stores, like, that's a great entrance into the hobby, right? Like, people are going to get that brand recognition. They're going to pick it up. And they can then start to get in and then realize, oh, and there's also this game Shadow Dark. If it's too crunchy and too high fantasy for you and you want something a little grittier and a little easier, Shadow Dark, right? Or if you want something even higher fantasy with more story focused on it.
I played Shadow Dark and I don't think it's any less crunchy. I didn't feel less
Oh, it's
crunch.
totally less crunchy.
Really?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
You must have played it more than I have.
There's no feats. There's no subclasses. Like, that alone eliminates a ton. But no proficiency bonus. Like, I mean, I'll tell you, like, I've run it for brand new people. People have never played an RPG.
Okay.
Way easier to teach them what's going on. Because you don't have these, like, weird, goofy, you don't have a giant skill list.
Yeah,
right? It's just ability checks.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, yeah, it's significantly, it's much more straightforward.
Well, I've only played one game of Shadow Dark. I played it at Gen Con just, like, a few days ago. And you know how it is that these games were, like, 80% of the game doesn't use a whole lot of mechanics. And so only 20% of the game you're actually rolling dice. Yeah. And so, like, I got to see a little bit of it, but not nearly enough to you've done a lot more, it sounds like, than I have. So that is good. I think it's awesome that it's less crunchy because
I mean, sorry, are we talking Shadow Dark or Daggerheart?
I'm sorry, Daggerheart.
I'm sorry. Totally different thing. I was like, didn't you just say you were running a Daggerheart campaign? I had a lot of experience with Daggerheart.
No,
I'm sorry, Shadow Dark.
You see the problem?
I got it mixed up.
Daggerheart, Shadow Dark. I run tons of Shadow Dark.
Gotcha, right.
Daggerheart.
Shadow Dark is much simpler.
Yes.
Daggerheart is actually about as crunchy as 5e, from what I've heard. Yeah. Like it's
now we're both getting confused.
Yeah.
Okay, so hold on a second. Yeah. I think you said Daggerheart and you meant Shadow Dark.
Okay, did I say Daggerheart and meant Shadow Dark?
I think so. Very well have done that. So what you're saying is that, okay, now I understand. So just so that we're all clear.
Yeah, Darrington Press's Daggerheart is about as crunchy as 5e is.
That's what I was trying to say.
And that's the one, right? That's the one you've got to play it.
Yes.
You have to play it.
And it felt about as crunchy.
Yes.
Right. Now Shadow Dark is way less crunchy.
Arcane Libraries Shadow Dark is much less crunchy.
And the point I wanted to make is that I like you were talking about the D&D starter set as an entryway into the hobby, and I think that it's kind of a shame that a crunchy rule. A crunchy system is a lot of people's entry point because I can see a lot of people bouncing off that because it's such a barrier to entry. And I really feel that if D&D were a rules light system, it would be way easier for people to get into the hobby, probably like it, and then stay in the hobby. But because it's like at least a medium crunch, if not light heavy crunch, like it's just very complex for people who've never done it before. And so I think something like Shadow Dark is a much better entry point.
So that's what I meant. Like, I'm trying to find it. I have the Shadow Dark. I got to make sure I'm saying the right one. I have the Shadow Dark Quick Start rules.
Yeah.
Right. You can pick it up for, I think it's $10 or $20.
It's free.
Oh, the digital is free, but even the physical version is pretty cheap.
Yeah,
right?
I gotcha,
It's pretty cheap to pick it up.
I gotcha.
And I have run that for brand new players, and it was super easy for them to pick it up and run. And I think I wrote an article and I did a little YouTube thing about it that I think the Shadow Dark Quick Start is the best D&D starter set. Yeah. Right. Like it was so. At least I will see what this one is like, but it is also a different scale. The new one is a $50 box set. It's 5 pounds. Right. It's got tons of tokens, it's got tons of maps, it's got and it looks really cool, and I'm excited to play it. But if you want to teach like what D&D, the legacy of what D&D feels like, and getting back, I mean, it looks like the old white box stuff, right? Like even the quick start guides from Arcane Library for Shadow Dark feel like the old school. And boy, it's just super fast to pick up, and people really enjoy it. I love running it at cons. I run it at every con I go to. It's the system I run at cons. Like I'm not going to bother running anything.
So I ran
easier to pack.
I ran 2 Shadow Dark games at Gen Con. And the first one, I remembered to tell people what the differences are between Shadow Dark and 5e, just in case they hadn't played before. In the second one, I had people that had never played Shadow Dark before, and I totally forgot to give them any rules explanation. And it didn't matter. They had the character sheet, and they were just fine.
So it's so straightforward.
Yeah, they had played 5e before, but it was their first time to Shadow Dark, and they needed no explanation. Yeah, they were just, let's go.
Right. And I've never had anybody get confused about something that exists in vanilla 5e that isn't in Shadow Dark. Most of them they get exactly what's in it. they immediately recognize the stuff that's not, and it doesn't short their brains out.
Nope, doesn't matter.
Right. The only thing I ever heard was players who were like, "Why is it that bandits are getting 3 attacks and we never get more than 1?" Right. And that was their big complaint.
Because I'm the dungeon master.
Right.
That's
like,
why.
I just thought like, maybe one day you'll be as good as a bandit. What can I tell you? Right? Like, keep working hard, keep doing it, little guy, and maybe one day you'll get an extra attack. Right. Not in my watch, but
that threw my players for one of my one shots for Shadow Dark for a loop, because they'd played for it was a 3 sessions I think into the one shot. Yeah. And like all of a sudden some of the monsters got more than 1 attack and they're just like, oh my gosh,
like,
what's going on?
Oh! Why are they getting started? I was like, oh, it sucks to be you.
And then I even had one player who was like,
it just said your torch goes out. Right, that's your response when they complain about not getting multiple attacks is their torch goes out. That's mine.
I have so many times torches have gone out in the middle of combat.
I love it.
It's beautiful.
I now, because you're not supposed to dork with things in Shadow Dark too much on the GM side, but I definitely have it where many times a monster will just start to appear and then it goes out before they've gotten even all the details. I'm like, you see a pair of shining tusks that are in the air and eyes that are too widely spaced to be human. Oh, the torch goes out. They're like, whoa, oh no, what is that? Right?
Yeah.
You can hear it breathing.
Yeah, and then somebody has to waste their turn basically lighting up a torch. You know,
maybe
what I mean?
if they're lucky enough to get a torch lit. Like
I
make them roll hard checks to get the torch lit.
Let me know what you think about this, and we got to probably get back on topic. But Shadow Dark, one of the first, I tried doing it where you stay in turn order in exploration and stuff, and I'll tell you that lasted 2 sessions. I'm not doing this. No
it was
way.
one of the things. So what I found, and especially like I ran, you and I have now both run Shadow Dark campaigns.
Yeah.
And the one trick that not only helped me with that a little, but also now I brought to all my games is writing the names of the characters in front of me in the orientation of the players around the table.
Yeah.
So that way I always have a list of characters in front of me and I can generally keep track of like who hasn't said anything recently.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to call on them. Right. And I'm using that. But in Shadow, I would fall out of turn order all the time.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I never got good at that.
What you just described is what every good game master should be doing anyway. Yeah. If somebody hasn't said something for a little bit, hey, John, what do you want? You want to do something? What are you doing over there? You know?
But, we're running a 3-ring circus. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember, right? And if I got 6 players, so that having that in front of me and having a little token I can move around to be like, oh, that's who talked next, and I'm like, hey.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Just really, really.
But no, I got rid of that turn order thing pretty quickly, and I'm just
I didn't exactly get rid of it, but I certainly I didn't use it constantly, right? I always remembered it was there, and sometimes I go back to it. But tracking rounds outside of combat is hard for me.
I threw it out. Yeah, I just kind of eyeball it at this point. It's just it's not, because what was happening is like they'd be trying to have a conversation. It's like, well, how much can you say on your turn?
Right. Yeah.
It's like this is awkward.
And then you get to like, okay, well, I guess I'm rolling random encounters whenever I feel like it, right? Which is kind of what I do. And I'm like, it feels like there hasn't been an encounter in a while. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, and that's fine. We all had a good time.
All right, so we're going to move into talking about. I think we pretty much covered the Darrington Press, Matt Mercer thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's probably a good time for us to walk into the D&D Beyond controversy, which might just be Mike Shea's
controversy in Mike Shea's head.
Mike Shea's head.
Right.
Yeah,
big controversy going on.
But we're gonna take a quick bio break, and then we'll come back and we will talk about that.
Awesome.
All right.
You know, one of the things that really annoys me about Kickstarters? Stretch goals. Look, we all know they are a scam. 95% of all projects literally have the stretch goal content completed before they even launch. And then they manipulate the stretch goal targets based on project velocity or past project performance to ensure they hit them all. It's all a song and a dance, and it's stupid. That's why for my next Kickstarter, Feybound, Trickery of the Wilds, we're not doing any of that crap. This is going to be the biggest, baddest Fey-themed expansion for D&D 5e ever created. No stretch goals, no bullcrap. We've already crammed everything we can into it. A sprawling Fey campaign setting, 6 vibrant new player races, 10 wildly creative subclasses, a treasure trove of magic items, dynamic Fae gameplay mechanics, over 100 twisted and unforgettable monsters, and Escape from the Fae, a level 5 to 11 adventure module featuring 12 full-length story-rich adventures. So if you want to get everything you need to bring the chaos, whimsy, and wilds of the Fae to life in your games, follow Faebound Trickery of the Wilds on Kickstarter right now. We launch soon and we'll have early backer specials for just the first few days only that you won't want to miss.
Dark over there. All right, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we have a giveaway going on tonight. There is a link in the chat somewhere. You can go click it, join the giveaway. We're giving away $50 DM Lair store credit, so you can buy some. We have a whole bunch of cool books. We have 5th edition stuff. We have Pathfinder 2 stuff. We have map packs. Whole bunches of cool crap you can buy over on the DMLair.com. So join the giveaway. One person will win. We'll draw your name at the end of the giveaway. And then our Kickstarter, Faebound, Trickery of the Wilds, is launching very soon. So make sure you click that link and follow the Kickstarter so you get notified when it goes live. It's going to be the biggest, baddest Fae-themed expansion for D&D 5e ever created. It's going to be awesome. All right. You won't believe the new controversy. You'll be shocked. Somebody in chat is like,
you may not believe it. When you hear it, you're like, hey, I don't believe it.
The latest scandal just dropped. Matt Mercer pours the milk on the cornflakes. What? Okay, Noutromancer, I have a job for you. You're writing YouTube titles for me now. Let's go, baby.
That's great. Yeah. Got to be small enough to fit on a thumbnail, though. That's the trick.
Oh, on a thumbnail and the title too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the title really should be 50 characters or less, right? Or and it's like I'm trying to squeeze this all in. At first, I was like, Matt Mercer quits, the quiet D&D controversy, and then some people were like, that's clickbait, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, but it's a title. Like I can't get so I'm like, okay, Matt Mercer quits as the DM. And then the D&D controversy, it's like, what do you want from me, people? I'm doing the best I can, It's like, do you want me to just put the entire content of the video into the title? Will you be happy now? You know what I mean? So,
right.
I don't know. Okay, everyone uses Matt Mercer for clickbait. Are you kidding me? It's the... somebody in chat. Okay, so let's talk about the D&D Beyond controversy.
Sure. I think that, there's a few parts of this, right? And there's like how it affects publishers is one part that I don't think we're thinking a lot about.
Okay.
But then also like how that ends up being an issue for D&D Beyond customers, i.e. everyone else. Yeah. And then also kind of like what's the effect on the hobby as a whole, right? Because of this. So one of the interesting things, I was at the, I don't remember if you were there. You remember the D&D summit that they did right after the OGL controversy, right? They made their big thing, but they're like, we need to reestablish a connection to the community and everything like that. We're going to have a summit. So I was one of the virtual attendees at that summit. And there was a fella named Dan, I think it's Dan Rawson, who was a vice president that oversaw, like, he had this weird role of like Dungeons and Dragons and digital gaming or something like that. He had a weird kind of role. Yeah. And there were a bunch of people there, right? But there were a bunch of people live, and then there were a bunch of us, like that were seeing it virtually. Right. And us virtual people got to hear all the people that were live, right, when they would react to stuff. And at one point he said, "Hey, how about we open up D&D Beyond to publishing for other publishers?" And they all went, "Yeah, absolutely, yeah." And he was like, "Good, we're going to do that. Wahoo!" Right? And he gave like a big cheer. Like, we're going to open D&D Beyond up to other publishers. Wahoo! And I immediately squinted it, and I'm like, why do we think that's good? Yeah. Like, why do we think that's a good thing? Like, the centralization of the hobby around D&D, you guys just, stomped on your own foot. 2 months ago, and now we're going to trust you as to be the central clearing place for RPG stuff. Like, doesn't sound great to me. But everybody was super excited about it, and I talked to some of the summit attendees afterwards, and they're like, "We want to get our products in the same places as the stuff that's going." And I'm like, "It's on their turf. Like, you're on their ground."
Okay,
like,
so let me draw some dots here and see if this makes sense. Yeah. So my brain is like going with what you're saying. And so I'm thinking, okay, if I were an evil genius, okay, my first goal is I don't want to propose the idea. I want my unwitting targets to propose the idea.
Yes.
And then I accept it.
Yes.
And they're all happy.
We'll do that for you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's the first step because they buy in completely. But the next evil plan is, okay, so I have all these publishers and they're putting their content on D&D Beyond. Right. And they're telling all of their people, all of their fans, go buy it on D&D Beyond. And so all of their fans are coming to D&D Beyond. They're buying their content on my platform. I am getting them as customers. I have their emails, all this kind of stuff.
Getting a percentage from everyone.
I'm getting a percentage. They're in my ecosystem. They're in my ecosystem. They're kind of mine now at that point, okay? So then what I do is I figure out a way. Okay, I got these unwitting publishers to send all of their customers to me. Okay, now I got to figure out a way to cut the publishers out.
Yeah, or just squeeze them, right? Like squeeze them like Facebook squeezes advertisers.
Right, because
sorry, our rate is going to change. Right now it's let's pretend it's 30%. Well, now it's 40%.
Because here's the next thing. So all the publishers told all their fans we're on D&D Beyond. All the content consumers, right, come to D&D Beyond and they're like, this is the cup. They always drink from that cup. Yeah. Now that I am invested in D&D Beyond and I bought the products there and I'm using it, I will only use D&D Beyond. It's like you've invested so much in like the Xbox that you're not switching platforms at this point, right? And so or Apple or whatever or PC. So like you only consume content from D&D Beyond, and then all the publishers are just sending all of their fans there, and everybody uses D&D Beyond for everything. And then at that point, once everybody is firmly in that grasp, then they do exactly what you said. Oh, hey, you know what? We were taking 20% at the beginning. We're going to increase that to 40% now. And it's probably going to be individual deals and stuff, but like
it is right. Then this is one of my issues that I'll talk about.
Okay, go. But I think that's the master. That could be the master plan.
Your whole you nailed exactly the issue.
Oh my god, I can see that. I can totally see that.
And here's your clickbait thumbnail.
Yes.
That means they won the OGL war. So think about what they wanted with the OGL. Right. What they wanted with the OGL was we're going to take back this open license and we're going to start working with individual publishers who then have to work in a contract with us, and we'll get a percentage of whatever profits they're making on this thing. And it drove everybody bananas, right? Small publishers and big publishers, when they heard about the change to the OGL and what was going to happen. And the whole reason was Wizards saying, hey, there's people out there making video games like Solasta that are doing well, and we're not getting a percentage of that. And we ought to, because that was our stuff. So we need to get rid of this old OGL somehow. We'll find one legal word that we can twist with a knife and change. And then what happens is then they go, wow, that was a huge mistake. Like every newspaper in the country is talking about what jerks we are. So, okay, fine, we're sorry. We're not going to do that. But we're going to open up this platform. And now you can come to this platform, and now we'll get a percentage. And you'll fight to come onto our platform. You'll work your ass off to come to our platform.
Wow.
Because now we have access to all of these other customers and all this stuff. You know, this huge thing.
Jeez.
And that means they won the OGL. They got the exact same thing that they wanted with the OGL, and people love them for it, right? Like Paizo. Paizo releasing Abomination Vaults on, and this is crazy, right? This is the one that kind of stirred me up, was like, Paizo is publishing a Pathfinder product called the Abomination, I think it's Abomination Vaults, on D&D Beyond for $40. It's $28 or something to buy it from Paizo. So it's like significantly cheaper to buy the PDF from Paizo directly than it is to buy a non-downloadable version on D&D Beyond by like $18. Wow. It was like an $18 difference.
I feel like I'm on the Joe Rogan podcast right now, and like I'm Joe Rogan, and you're a special guest who's blowing my mind with some crazy thing. I'm just like, wow, you're right.
Well,
Holy crap.
And well, you know, I'll get all stirred up and crazy, but at the end I have really good news, right? So the good thing is when I've got there's a shining light at the end of this tunnel.
Jeez.
But let me tell you some other things about the publishing thing that I don't think even publishers are really considering. So why do publishers do this? And probably both you and I, if Wizards of the Coast came to us and said, hey, we'd love to publish our stuff on D&D Beyond, both of us would probably say yes.
I mean,
and there's two reasons.
I'd make a ton of money.
Right. Number one is ton of money. Right? Like you suddenly get access to like a newsletter that's like 150,000 people. Right? Like you would get a huge marketing side of it. And here's the other reason why. It's not exclusive. which means I can publish to D&D Beyond and still publish on my own store, still publish on wherever else I publish, Drive-Thru RPG, anywhere else. So why wouldn't I do it, right? Like, what does it matter if I'm publishing over there too?
Short-term financial gain is very
short-term
strong.
financial gain.
Yeah.
But your point about the cycle, right? Like, it's just like Amazon. Oh, sure, I can sell on Amazon as well, right? That's just one platform until Amazon becomes the dominant one, until you depend upon them, and then they squeeze you for every dollar that they can get out of you.
Right.
And you already killed your other, the other avenues you had are already dead because Amazon ate them all. So that thing can happen. But what I don't think publishers are considering are some of the, one of the big factor. It is an unfair platform for publishers. And it is unfair because who's the number one competitor to you on their platform? Them. If you make a monster book and you put a monster book on D&D Beyond, you're competing with the monster manual. Which of those two are going to win?
Monster manual.
Monster manual. And guess what? Let's assume that they're doing a 70-30 split. I don't know if it's a 70-30 split, but it's so common in every other.
It's pretty fair assumption.
Pretty standard. We'll assume it's 70. Do you think they're paying 30% for the monster manual? No, it's their platform. They only pay the credit card transaction fee, which means they can actually lower the price of the monster manual by like 25% and get the same profit margin that you're getting.
Yeah.
So that's not fair. They also get 100% access to all the customers. You brought this up, right? They get 100% access to all the customers for all of the products that are published there. I seriously doubt you even get the access to the customers for your own product. Right? I bet you they don't say, here are all the email addresses of everybody that bought the product on D&D Beyond for you.
Oh, no.
I would be very surprised if they
I would be shocked if they did.
Shocked.
Yeah.
The other one is, and this is kind of an unfair practice, I have no idea what the deal is that any publisher has on there. And I don't expect any publisher knows what any of the other publisher deals had. All of the deals are a la carte, and all of them are probably under an NDA, right? And how is that fair, right? Like then you can't say like, hey, wait a minute, we should all be demanding a profit margin of a certain amount, right? Yeah. There's no way to, not to turn all like strikey, there's no way to organize, right? But Drive-Thru RPG, for example, as an alternative platform, you know exactly what everyone's getting, and you even know how many sales are occurring. That's something else you don't know. How many copies of Flea Mortals was sold, right? I understand that Flea Mortals apparently did very well. How did it do in comparison to Obajima? Right? How did that do in comparison to some of the Ghostfire stuff?
Yeah.
Individual publishers know how well they did, but they have no idea how they're doing in comparison to anything else that's on that same platform.
Right.
Which is information you would want. Except one group does have all of that. Wizards of the Coast. They absolutely know what kind of products are outselling what other products.
That is marketing research.
That's marketing research.
Farming. Oh my word.
Other people's products.
Yes.
Right? Other people's products.
Dude, so check this out. One of the just YouTube videos. When I'm researching what videos I'm gonna make, I go to other creators' channels and I see what videos they're making and which ones are performing well. And I'm like, maybe I do a video about that. Now, Wizards of the Coast has all of this data,
and no one else has it.
So, and they have all the data from third-party publishers. They can see Ghostfire Gaming's blah 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 did super well.
That did really well.
Oh,
hey,
we might want to make a product
products
like that.
are doing really well. Maybe we'll do a Fae product.
Exactly.
Right? And again, the model for this is Amazon. Amazon will, if you make a particular product on Amazon, you do really well. They will eventually find a way to make that same product and outsell you. Right? There was a whole thing about like dog beds and stuff where like people made like artisanal dog beds and then Amazon made a crappy version and put them out of business. Right? Wow. So yeah, it absolutely can happen. Now, whether, this isn't to say Wizards is doing all of this stuff, right? But they are in the position, right? They have set up the environment and they have done so that the publishers are willing. Everybody's super, and again, like I probably would, if they came and said, hey, Mike, we'd like to put City of Arches on D&D Beyond. What am I going to say? No, right? Right?
Yeah.
I'll probably do it.
And this is this is you knowing all of this too.
Yes,
you're
I
fully
still know
cognizant, and you're just like.
But the other two reasons matter, which is one, it's not exclusive, so why wouldn't I? Right. And two, it's money. Right, and not even money, because the money's really not the big factor for me. It's exposure of the product.
Sure.
Right, like more people would have City of Arches, and that would make me very happy. Right, like more people would get to enjoy the thing.
I like the money, dude. I'm not gonna complain. My wife, wife is like.
I like the money because it helps me make more products. So yes,
dude.
So those are all the kind of concerns for publishers. But then, what does this matter for customers, right? Because I mentioned before the show, like to hell with us.
Yes.
Right? We don't matter.
Who
the
matters
are
GMs.
GMs.
Agreeing to
customers matter, right? Customers and GMs and people playing games with their friends, they matter.
Okay,
so what matters there?
Yeah.
But you talk about the centralization problem, right? That the more products show up on the site, the more you start to say like, oh, well, they have these things, I'm going to buy those things.
Right.
Then you're going to focus more of your attention on there. And then if it starts to suck, what are you going to do? And this is not theoretical. I've talked to people who are like, I really liked it a long time ago, and now I bought a bunch of stuff on it. And now I really don't like it anymore. It's not working well for me. Right? I bought the Lord of the Rings. I spent $30 on the Lord of the Rings thing, and it doesn't even work in the D&D Beyond character builder. But what am I going to do? I already spent the $30, and I already have this other stuff, and all my players are on board.
Yeah.
I can't get away from it. So lock-in, right? And lock-in is a huge issue in technology overall, right? You were talking about iPhones and everything else.
Yep.
Lock-in is a major issue that has RPGs have generally avoided lock-in because they're physical books. Right? You have a book, you have some dice, you don't need anything else, right?
Yeah.
Except like with D&D Beyond, they're making it really easy. They've streamlined a lot of stuff. Even their own marketing makes fun of their own product. Yeah. So like if you go and if you hit I'm sure it's still up. If you go to the D&D Beyond page and you go to like the initial site about why we would use D&D Beyond, it says like making a character takes forever. So you should use D&D Beyond to do it. And you're like, that's your own fault, man. You're the game. You just put out a new version of the game. And you're making fun of yourself that your own game takes too long?
Yes,
right?
Because
what's wrong with you?
This is
right?
Step number 1, create a problem. Step number 2,
create a problem and then come up with your own solution.
Sell the solution.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the underpants gnomes, right? So so now you've
like I get what you're saying, because I was recently in a game that it was a D&D game, but it wasn't using D&D Beyond to create characters. It was using Dice Cloud. And it was very challenging for me to figure this out. The game master literally had to walk through a lot of stuff for me. Yeah. And the whole time I'm just like, I was literally thinking, I mean, I have D&D Beyond. I was like, I literally could have created a character in 5 minutes in D&D Beyond.
Right.
But it took me an hour using Dice Cloud.
There's a legitimate aspect to this, because I don't want to just be like slagging on the whole thing.
The
legitimate thing is people really like D&D Beyond.
Yeah,
right.
For character creation, it's great.
Character creation is great.
Yeah.
It runs fast. It's multi-platform.
Yeah.
You can play in person and you can play online. Yeah. There's a lot to really. There's a lot about it that's really good. The question is it always going to be good? Right? Like, this is a company that got bought out 3 times. There is a lot of technology debt going on at D&D Beyond, right? Like, there's a lot of like programmers who are working off the code that another programmer who wrote a code from another programmer did. Yeah. And we saw like Roll20, right? Like, I don't know if you've used a lot of Roll20, but like Roll20, in my opinion, did not age particularly well because of technology debt. Technology debt's a problem, right? Yeah. And so it's great now.
Tech debt. You could say tech debt. I know what tech debt is.
Yeah. Oh, I can save you the extra syllables for technology.
Save the syllables. I used to work in IT. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So like, that could be a long-term issue. And the more you're locked into it, the less they'll care. Right. The less that they'll worry about whether or not things work. And we've already seen the desire to bring new products in outstrip their ability to integrate those products well. And to me, Lord of the Rings 5e is a really good example of that. But Obajima, I think it was Obajima, was another one where like Lord of the Rings they put in, but Lord of the Rings has weird character creation stuff, right? It's like species and classes are kind of mixed together. I didn't use it, so I don't know exactly. But I was talking to MT Black, the designer. MT Black was playing with it recently, and he's like, "Yeah, there's just things that don't work." And it's like it was more important for them to have Lord of the Rings, the brand, inside D&D Beyond than it was to make sure that it worked well, or that it worked completely, right? And that's part of the cycle of platform decay. Right, that like we're more interested in making sure that we're bringing on new brands and new partners than we are on the site working well, on the application working.
Yeah, because that doesn't matter.
Because then, eventually, like it doesn't matter.
It's kind of like you have a Patreon probably, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a Patreon. Yeah. And like they introduced these new features.
I know, you saw the new one, right? Oh, we're gonna bug your customers more.
They're all stupid. Every little advancement and feature they have is ridiculously stupid, and none of it's any use. It doesn't help anybody. No. It doesn't help any patrons at all, or any of the content creators on there.
Yeah.
It doesn't help anybody.
And getting away is really hard.
Oh, it's really hard. But the thing is that I keep telling Coach and Bob Willbilly, I talk to these guys about Patreon a lot,
right.
And I keep telling them, look, Patreon is literally they are printing money. all they have to do is maintain a website.
Right, just stop.
That's it.
Right.
That's all they got to do. And so they do like a song and a dance. They put on a show of like, oh, we're trying to help creators. We're trying to make the experience better. I bet they got like one person, like they probably have like a team of people to make sure the lights stay on, you know, and then they have one person and they're just like, your job is to make it look like we're trying to make changes and stuff. But really, we don't care, because
the only thing we got going on our side is that they're still a private company, right? And they've had the same CEO the whole time, who's actually a pretty decent dude, from what I've seen. But and we have things like you can export your entire email list out of Patreon.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And this is like, compare that to like D&D Beyond, right? Like if you're a publisher on D&D Beyond, there's no way you can export your email list. But we can.
But
right?
you and I both know that we probably have like a not like small portion of our patrons have probably never even looked at our content in months, maybe years, and they just keep giving us money. So if we were to switch platforms and export that list,
we'd probably lose 90%. I wouldn't be surprised if you lost 90%.
I mean, I was going to say 50, but I wouldn't be surprised at 90.
You know, maybe you could work real hard and get back to 50%.
Oh my gosh, no, you can't. So they know that they have a captive audience.
That's
you're not going
even
anywhere.
when you have the email addresses. Yeah, even though you could email them directly.
Have you noticed that every time Patreon releases a new feature, they're like, if you use this feature, you can no longer be on the legacy pricing.
Yes,
you're going to be on the new pricing. Like I'm on legacy pricing, which takes about 7%. You know what I mean? But every time there's a new feature, it's like, well, if you use the new feature, you can't have that, and we'll start taking.
Trying to cycle us out. I know, and
it's like 15%. It's like 15% or something. I'm just like, you want to double the amount that you're taking for this little piddly feature? I'm like, no.
For my $2 pledges.
Yeah, no way, dude.
It's already. Yeah.
Anyway, so I totally get the idea. That's what D&D Beyond could try to do.
Yes, they want to turn it into a central. I mean, and it makes perfect sense. Like I don't even necessarily blame them for this, right? They're a publicly traded company, right? And they're a publicly traded company in a world where centralized services are now multi-trillion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
Right. Like Facebook is, you know, literally a multi-trillion-dollar company.
Yeah.
That's an advertisement company, right? And they do it by gravity, by getting people in there, and you cannot leave, right? My wife uses Facebook, and she's like, my groups are there, right? My friends are there, my groups are there.
I 100%. So I do like most of our advertising is on Meta, Facebook, and Instagram.
Yeah, right.
I guarantee your wife has probably seen my advertisements.
Oh, she does. Yeah. Right. And we do too, right? We still have a presence. We're not doing.
I have this little mobile game that I play. It's like a mining game for planets in space, and like you can watch ads and stuff on it and get extra bonuses. And one day I watched an ad and my face came up, and I was promoting my next Kickstarter, and I was like, oh cool, I didn't even know that it was pushing it to mobile games.
I hope you didn't click it, because it cost yourself money.
I actually think I might have just
test.
I don't care.
Lost cash.
Oh, I don't. It's a couple cents. I probably clicked it just to make sure the link was working.
It's the principle of the matter.
So
I thought about this a lot. Like so what kind of stirred this up for me recently was watching Pathfinder go on there, and then also hearing Dan Ayub, who's the new the new franchise manager for D&D. Right. He's essentially the guy that's in charge. I think he's a vice president. I'm not sure if he's a vice president, but he's in charge of the D&D franchise, which means anything related to D&D is his. Okay. And he wrote this thing saying, hey, there's 4. He wrote it as welcome back to D&D, or welcome back to the table. And I was like, that's weird, because I've been here. I'm at the table. I don't know who you are. Like, welcome back. I haven't left, right?
Yeah.
I've been here for 30 years.
Right.
But he had kind of 4 main points. One of them was that it's a game made for you, right? That this is a system. I think it was a system owned by you, something along this line. I'm not getting the quote exactly right, but it's a system owned by you, which immediately set me off, because it's like, according to the end user license agreement on D&D Beyond, you don't own anything.
Right.
No, we don't own it, right? If you buy the player's handbook on D&D Beyond, they literally in the license can say you do not own it, and we can change it anytime, and we can remove it at any time.
Yeah, they can turn the whole site off.
They can turn the whole site off. And they've done it before. 4th edition is gone. All the tools that I paid for to run 4th edition, they're all gone. Oh, wow. You cannot get any of those, right? Not. I think you can kind of get a hacked version of one of the command line tools that they used to use. But they had a whole web-based way of playing 4th edition. Yeah. And it was really good, right? We used it to play 4th edition. It's totally gone. So it's not like this is theoretical. They have killed stuff in the past. Right.
Wow. Dude, and then after people have spent thousands of dollars buying
well, in that case, it was a monthly fee, right? So you weren't buying books from they called it, I think it was D&D Insider was the name of the the thing, and it was more of a subscription-based service.
Okay.
Where you paid dollars a month.
And if that was the case right now for D&D Beyond, if I simply had to pay $10 a month to have access to everything, I wouldn't care. But the moment I have to buy the individual books and then you take it away from me, I'm not happy. I'm not happy.
Yeah. And so my number one solution to this is PDFs, man.
Right.
Just give us the PDFs of the products when we buy them.
They will never do that.
Well, they never would have, and then they did D&D Classics, and now everything up through 5th edition is available in PDF, right? Yeah. So like you can get everything from OD&D, from the original Gygax versions, all the way through 4th edition is available in PDF.
And that's on
it's not unheard of.
That's on not Drive Thru RPG. What's the other one?
It was called, so it's on DM's Guild.
DM's Guild.
But it was originally called D&D Classics. Before they had DM's Guild, they had D&D Classics, and that was their place to put all the PDFs.
Okay.
So and a lot of products that they put out during 5th edition were put out as PDFs. The Elemental, they had an Elemental Player's Guide that went along with.
I have that. Yeah.
Yeah. They had the Turtle package that came out. That was PDF.
Oh, that's true.
So they've released and they had the Gazetteers for Waterdeep Gazetteer.
Yeah. So they've like dabbled their toes in the water.
They've done it right. They used to do more PDF stuff. And now what we heard is like they have the new Forgotten Realms books coming out, and they have 3 new accessories, 3 new, what people are referring to as DLC, except the D stands for download, and you cannot download them. So it's not even, they say it like it's a pejorative, but it's actually even worse than that, right? I call them limitedly licensable products. Right, that like you can purchase a limited license to this product, and that's as close as I can get to what ownership is like. You could say leasing, right? To me, like you're leasing the product is probably
you're leasing it. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
and we all know that when you lease a car, that's the worst way to do it. You spend the most money by leasing it. Yes,
that's right. Right,
it's very bad.
You're paying money for a car that's not yours. Right?
Exactly, and you're paying more than buying.
And that's what we're doing, right? That's what we're doing on D&D Beyond. It's where we buy a product, and I honestly, this is why I said like it could be a controversy in my head. I don't know how many people care. And I don't know how many people would care if they actually did release PDFs. That people are like, oh, thank God, now it's open. Now I know that when I buy a digital version of the player's handbook, I have a copy that's on my hard drive that I can back up to 3 different places and make sure that no matter what happens, I still have it.
Yeah.
But I care, right? So I
mean, I tell you what, I would be far more inclined to buy content on D&D Beyond if I got a PDF with it.
Right.
You know
now here's the funny thing. All those third-party publishers that are published on D&D Beyond, almost, I think every one of them, I think there's 2 cases I can think of, have PDFs.
Right.
This is funny. Mike Merles, the previous, the designer of the D&D 2014, just published a Cthulhu-based supplement on D&D Beyond as part of Chaosium.
Okay.
And that is only available there. There is there's no way to get that material anywhere else.
Oh, that they're so just driving all of their customers, fans to D&D
and
Beyond.
There was an interesting reason why they did that. Mike Merles talked about this over on EN World. And the interesting reason was that Chaosium in the past had trouble with with game shops where they had published a D20 version of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
And people got confused between their normal version of Cthulhu. I forget the name of the system that Call of Cthulhu runs on. But people were buying they buy them together thinking they were the same game.
Yeah.
And they weren't. So Chaosium specifically said, we only want to put it on Beyond because we don't want it to crud up the rest of our stuff, right? We don't want to have a 5th edition product out there that's getting confused with our other true Call of Cthulhu products.
I understand.
So in that case, that was they had a business choice to do that.
Right.
I still think it was a mistake. I still think they should sell a PDF, right? At the very least.
Yeah.
But the other advantage, what he'd said was also there was no cost for layout, right? They were able to just basically turn it into raw text and give it to D&D Beyond to put up on D&D Beyond. They didn't have to go through an expensive layout procedure.
Yeah,
but still, I think in the end, I think that's going to hurt as a product because it's not a product that's going to last, right?
Sure.
Like someday that thing's going to disappear.
Yeah.
And it's going to disappear for everyone that bought it, right?
And so that's why it's a problem for the consumer.
Yes.
Right, because those products eventually will disappear, guaranteed.
Right. And to me, like that. So what can solve this problem is something I think about, right? Like what can get us to a state where I'm happier with it. I don't know if I can speak for anybody else and their happiness, but I can speak for myself. And one was like, if I knew that if I bought a product there, I could download it and keep it. Just like Foundry. I don't know if you use Foundry.
I do. Yep.
Yeah. So Foundry you own, right? Like you own the software, and when you buy stuff for it, including D&D 2024 stuff, you own that stuff and can download it. I have it on my Raspberry Pi right over there, right? And I have backups of that Raspberry Pi going off to another cloud. So I have copies, and if Foundry disappears or Wizard says we never want to sell it there again, I still have my copy and I can still use it, right? And PDFs are about as good as we're going to get, I think, if we get even that. From D&D Beyond to know, yes, I bought these products and now I actually own them. It's not a lease anymore. It's actually
well, I mean, I think Overboard brings up a really good point. He just said, I haven't logged in over a year. They started changing all my old books. Why all the updates? They don't need updates. If we had a PDF, then they couldn't just
static,
make changes to things that we don't want them to change.
Static, right? They did, right? Remember, Volos and Mordenkainen's both had significant changes on D&D Beyond. Right? They changed a lot of lore, and it's funny because they changed a lot of lore about Githyanki and Mind Flayers
I hate lore
that were in Baldur's Gate 3. So the lore was in the most popular video game, but eliminated from the D&D product that had it. Right? It was really bizarre.
So my big pet peeve is lore changes. I hate lore changes.
They changed lore.
They took, so remember the Furbolg? The Furbolg from like 2nd edition, maybe even 3rd edition, was like this like giant kin, red haired, like 9 feet tall or something, could change into a big sized man. It was a giant kin, and I was like, this is awesome, whatever. Okay. But then they turned it into this gumpy idiot who's like a forest
furry dude.
A furry dude who's like, I'm the only class that can do healing because I get a +2 to wisdom. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm just like, they ruined the Furbolg, and now it's this stupid forest guy.
Right.
So like, I hate lore changes. I hate it. Because it's like, what? It's like, you don't need to...
Must have been a big fan of 4th edition. They changed the hell out of the lore for everything.
Did they? Oh, God.
Oh, God. Forgotten Realms, they destroyed half the world.
But the thing is like, you don't need to change the lore. You can just, instead of calling it a Furbolg, make up a new name, dude.
Or do what they did with Eberron, right? Like Eberron had a lot of the same stuff, but completely changed the lore for a lot of it. So goblins are very different, orcs are very different.
Oh, sure.
And that's because the whole setting is different, right? Like everything about it is different. And so
exactly.
if you have a fresh setting, you can do all kinds.
Well,
of
that's
stuff.
different. That's different though. Totally different.
It's a different situation. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I accept Eberron because that's why.
Right.
But in D&D, literally D&D is interrupting the continuity of their universe for no good reason. Just willy-nilly changing lore.
Yeah, it's almost all because they not invented here. Like I'm a new designer and I want to make my mark on D&D, and I that means I got to change what the old designer did. And that's been going on since the 70s, right? That's like Gygax and Arneson and they were, Mercer, they were involved in, they were doing stuff like that back then.
And anyway, you were saying, what does Mike want?
Yeah, so that the big one is PDFs, and that's probably the only one that I think there's any even, and it's a remote possibility. But some other stuff would be more transparency for publishers, like like Drive-Thru RPG does.
Yeah.
State the percentage, state what they get, and I would be surprised. I'd be surprised if they didn't get here. That they really do want to open it up so that like you and I could publish our products. That you and I could publish your products on. Oh, what a puppy!
I think she's got to go outside.
Oh.
How about we do this? You keep talking.
Sure.
I'm taking the dog out.
I'm just gonna go rant.
Just keep talking. Just keep talking. I can still hear you.
All right. Maybe folks have questions. Maybe you can. Folks want to. Where am I wrong? Where am I wrong with all this stuff? That's what I really love. I love to be tested. I want to know that my hypotheses are incorrect, and also who uses D&D Beyond. But yeah, so other stuff that I want. I would love to see transparency for publishers. I would love. We should know what the percentage is. Right, we should know what and they should be equal for every publisher. One publisher shouldn't be getting a better deal than another publisher. I think that transparency would be really important. 3, 2, 1 backup. Yay! I'd love to see it be easier to import homebrew. Right, I would love if there was an easier way to import homebrew stuff, then other publishers could actually format homebrew material in mass and import it into D&D Beyond. So it'd be far easier to get other stuff in there that you would want in there. And then export. It would be really nice to have an export feature so you can pull data back out again. And then I think a lot of it would be about getting publisher guidelines and publisher stuff so that it was clear, hey, which products are doing well. We should all have that information, especially the publishers are really interested in it, but everybody should be interested. in generally like, how well is one product doing compared to another? The medal system on Drive-Thru RPG tells you that. You can tell, has this product sold 1,000 copies, 500 copies, 5,000 copies? You can tell that. So, Mike, what do you think of having third-party content be used to feed their AI? If by their AI you mean Wizards, I know that Chris Cox has talked about wanting to delve into AI, but I can also tell you the amount of effort required to train like an LLM is so high that Wizards isn't going to be able to do it. So I'm actually not that I'm not that particularly worried about like, will they harvest that stuff in order to feed their own AI? I wouldn't worry about it that much. I think there's more practical problems that we can actually touch and see. So you never know. You never know if something like that.
I feel like if they did use other people's products to feed their AI, you'd have a massive revolt. That would be a huge scandal.
They're going to have a massive revolt, even if they put just LLM-based stuff on D&D Beyond.
I'm not familiar with LLM. What's that?
Sorry, large language model. So the when we talk about generative, there's artificial intelligence, which is a discipline that's been around for 90 years or something.
Okay.
There's generative AI, which is like image generation and text generation, and that's really what we're paying attention to these days. And then the big one, text generation, is really the one that a lot of people are focused on. And the technology that is behind text generation is known as a large language model, or LLM.
Got it. Okay.
ChatGPT is an LLM.
Yeah.
Claude is an LLM, and then there's a whole slew of other ones.
Grok, I think, is the Twitter
Grok
one.
That's Elon Musk's LLM. God help us all. And so there's lots of different ones. And Chris Cox, the CEO of Wizards, has been, he's been quoted as saying like, "Oh, this is something we want to get into." But it's not really clear what he's even talking about.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, are they going to take D&D products and train on them? But training large language models is literally why it takes billions of dollars in order to make these things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you need a power center the size of New York to be able to build a model that's going to have a reasonable output.
Hasbro doesn't have that kind
They
of
don't
money.
have that. So the best that they would do is license an LLM from somebody else and then use it for things like prompt generation for adventures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they will see a big revolt, right? Like people will be very angry about seeing generative AI kind of stuff on D&D Beyond because of the power, the power use is really high, and people are very concerned about it being built on copywritten material. There's all kinds of issues there. So let me tell you can I tell you some good news?
Yes, the good news.
Right. So here's the good news. All of this stuff that I've been talking about and ranting about with D&D Beyond doesn't really matter that much. It's actually a very small issue.
Why do we have the show, man?
Well, because, it's not zero, but it's not as big a deal as I get all hot about it.
Okay.
But I recognize, and there's a few reasons. One is not, the last time I polled, so here's something I would love you to do. I don't know if you do that. Then you'd say, no, I don't do that. If you ran a poll on YouTube, right, and asked people, if you are are you a 5e, if you're a 5e GM or player, do you regularly use D&D Beyond? I would be interested to see the results that you have, because I have run that poll. I've had thousands of results from that poll, and the answer was, let's see, I'm gonna make sure I get it exactly right, but it wasn't the majority, right? I think it was like 30%. Let's see, poll. So I've run it a couple times. I ran it in 2023.
Yeah.
And I said, this is a poll for D&D players and DMs. Do you regularly use D&D Beyond when preparing or playing your game? And the response was 38% said yes, and 62% said no. And that was in 2023. Then I ran it again in 2024, about almost a year later. And I said, same question. I said, this one is RPG game masters and players. So I expanded it a little bit. And the answer to that was 36%. So it actually went down, right?
Interesting.
About a third of people used it.
No, the biggest. So I could do a poll like that too, but I'm gonna wager a guess that like the demographics that our channels attract are not representative.
It's not representative.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Right.
Right.
But
So
it is representative of the people who watch our shows.
That is correct. 100% correct.
The people that we can reach.
Yes, that's true.
It's representative of them, and that's good enough for me, right? Like I can't solve the world. I can't solve the world's problems.
Well, you need to solve.
I can speak to the people who I can I can reach, right?
Yeah.
And it's possible it's much higher than that, right?
Yeah.
It could be possible that when you bring in a bunch of people who aren't watching a lot of YouTube videos on this stuff and aren't answering polls, that they're more likely to use it because they're new to the game and it's an easy way to get in, and so on and so forth.
I almost wonder if people that aren't on YouTube a lot might use it less.
But that's the thing, right? We don't really know.
Yeah.
Right. So my argument is like, if we can come up with good, reasonable arguments for why it would be either up or down, that probably means the poll's not far, right? Like, I don't think it's 70%, right? I bet you it's not, I bet you it's not way off from the result that I'm getting, but I'm curious about it. But for me, that's good enough. And also because I ran it in 2 years and I saw that it actually went down a little bit, that tells me it's not becoming this dominant central platform, at least among the people that I'm able to reach. And that's good news for me, right? That means like, okay, it's not zero. Like 1 in 3 is a lot of people, right? Like 1 in 3 is a lot of people using this platform. So that's still not zero, but it's not the whole industry. It's not the whole RPG hobby. Right. And the reality is, I have now played, and you can, I've played games. My friends have played games where we're using like the D&D 2024 books. We're using Tales of the Valiant. We're using Level Up Advanced 5e. We're using the old 2014 books in paper with PDF, like form fillable PDFs, or just playing by hand. And it can be done. Like, you can play this game without a digital tool.
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure.
You don't need one.
No, you don't need one.
So that's really good, right? It means they can't really ever truly hose the whole game. Because if D&D Beyond gets to be really bad, we can always default back to the books and paper, right? Just like we have, But even better than that is all of these other games that are out there.
Yes.
Shadow Dark, Daggerheart, Draw Steel, Nimble 5e, DC 20. There's so many other games.
Yep.
And like Shadow Dark, they have a digital character builder, right? They have Shadow Darklings.
Yeah.
But you certainly don't need it. You can get a 3x5 card, some dice, and you can have a character in like 5 minutes, right? You can build a character really
Shadow
quick.
Darkling, it's a click of the button.
I know,
Character
right? Like,
done.
I have friends. We used to joke that when characters were worried about their death, they're like, I can smell the toner in the air. Right, like the smell of plastic fills the air as you can hear the Shadow Darkling's printer starting to hammer off new characters. So, another really good thing is they did release the 5.2 SRD, so we now have the 5.1 SRD and the 5.2 SRD both under a Creative Commons license, which means you can build tools. And the only real thing that's hindering somebody from building a better D&D Beyond is generally skill set. And energy and effort, right?
Money, time investment,
It's $130 million they spent on D&D Beyond, right? Like, it's hard to make a character builder. So, that means there's at least the capability for other people to build character builders.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
it doesn't have to be the only one.
The interesting thing is that corporations like this, there's usually so much waste in them that it costs them $130 million. Somebody could do it as a pet project for $100K.
Oh, they did. So Level Up Advanced 5e, right, which is another 5e variant made by EN World Publishing. Really cool, really fun. Very crunchy, like a crunchier version.
Oh,
they self-financed a character builder for that.
Right.
And Morris, who's the head of EN World, and he has a podcast, and he had talked about it. And he said, like, it's going to be okay, but like, they spent $130 million on it. We don't have $130 million. But then he was like, I tell you, it sure feels like D&D Beyond to us, right? Like it's a character builder, and it's really good. And I've used it, and it's really good. Yeah. Shard Tabletop has character builders. Yeah. Foundry has character builders in them. Roll20 is trying to make standalone character builders that work on your phone. So other people are making character builders. Yeah. Right, and it's not limiting. They're in the case of a couple of those, they're actually using licensed stuff. They're using the actual full D&D 2024 rules, not just the 5.2 SRD. Right. But like, you and I could work real hard and hire people and find stuff to build a really good character builder for 5e, and even for D&D 2024 with the 5.2 SRD. And the only thing in our way is effort. Right? It's not like they're not in the way because that SRD is out there.
Sure. Yeah, you could do
it.
Yeah.
So those are all, like, to me, good signs that even, like, we have the physical core books for both 2014 and 2024 D&D from Wizards of the Coast. Right. We have the system reference documents for both versions of 5e that Wizards of the Coast published that are under Creative Commons licenses. Yep. Right? And, so because those are all out, like, there's only, this is kind of a pejorative way to say it. There's only so much damage they can do with D&D Beyond, right? There's a floor to how bad it can get.
Right.
And it can't get worse than physical books and open system reference documents.
Right, because if they do capture all the customers and then start to squeeze everybody and do what you're saying,
they'll shoot out the sides and come to other platforms.
Yeah, they'll just you'll have some of these big publishers that are like, screw you, we're gonna pay somebody to make our own little thing to compete with you.
That's right.
And then there'll be like this grassroots uprising thing, and then we'll have basically OGL 2.0.
I mean, kind of, except not really, because the rule sets are already out there, and now the license. Well, they can't even try to take the license.
Well, what I mean is the OGL Crisis 2.0.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like this is their second shot at it, and now we.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, so I have my little nitpicky stuff about D&D Beyond, but I actually think Wizards. This is like my controversial statement, right? Since the OGL, I think Wizards has actually done a really good job with D&D, right? I think they've actually done a better job than we might expect that they had done, with things like putting out the core books, not just on D&D Beyond, but Roll20, Foundry, and Fantasy Grounds, right? Foundry didn't have a version for Foundry.
Right. Yeah.
And you could totally see them saying, why the hell would we support a competing platform?
Yeah.
Right? Why wouldn't we? Of course we want people to come to D&D Beyond. We're not going to put it anywhere else, but they did. Right. And Foundry and Fantasy Grounds are downloadable versions, right? You can really, truly digitally own those products. They didn't have to do that. There's always been speculation that like D&D was going to turn into a digital-only enterprise, that they were going to stop publishing books, right? But the starter set, they have a new starter set that looks really good, and it is absolutely physical. Right. It is what I heard, 4 to 5 pound box of stuff for $50. That's board game level quality stuff that absolutely does not need a digital version of the game, right? Like you can, you could have seen them saying, the next starter set is going to be D&D Beyond only, right? They totally could have said that, and I don't think we would have been tremendously surprised if they said like, we're gonna, the next starter set would be a digital one, and you get it on D&D Beyond, and maybe it's $5 or $10, right? You could have seen them do that in order to kind of bring them back into getting locked into D&D Beyond. And they're not doing that.
Yeah, but they'd be giving up so many sales with so many people
and that's what I heard. Yeah, so I talked to some people in the know and mentioned some of this, and they said they're absolutely not doing these things that you compliment them for altruistic reasons. They're doing it because all of them lead to money, including the 5.2 SRD. You remember I was going back about they won the OGL war. So I'm gonna blow your mind a little bit.
Okay. Cool.
The 5.2 SRD is their way to filter out what products people are doing really well with in order to bring them onto D&D Beyond. So they put out the rule set and say, this rule set, anyone can publish to this rule set. And lots of people do. Yeah. But they're like, that one made $1 million on Kickstarter. Why don't you come over to D&D Beyond? That one made $750,000 on Kickstarter. Why don't you come on over, right? Yeah. They can ignore everybody and then pick the winners.
But don't they understand? They must know that doing really well on Kickstarter is in large part indicative of your marketing ability.
Yes.
Not necessarily how good the product is. They must know that.
Well, I don't think they, maybe now I'm being mean again. I don't know if they care how good the product is.
Yeah.
I think they care whether or not that group is bringing their audience with them.
Yeah.
You were talking about the idea that people are going to advertise the fact that they have a D&D Beyond presence.
Correct.
But that means you're getting, like, Wizards is getting the benefit of their marketing side.
Correct.
So that same all that marketing effort that they did to get the 10,000 people to back them on Kickstarter, they expect that group will send an email to those 10,000 people saying, we now have D&D Beyond version. A company I know is doing this is Ghostfire. Ghostfire, to my knowledge, is the first company that is offering D&D Beyond versions of their stuff as part of their Kickstarter. Right?
Yeah.
That they actually have a deal. They've had deals worked out with Wizards that said, we know, Wizards said, we will absolutely let you on, and you can make it one of the versions of your product. Right? And so that it kind of feeds into the whole thing that, like, I love it because I have the 5.2 SRD. It's in Creative Commons. I can use parts of it in other game systems. I can put parts of it in books and not have to worry about getting sued because they released it. But for them, they get to use it as a grand filter in order to say, like, small potato things we don't care about, but those big ones, we want those whales in our system. And those whales are Obajima. the whales are Lord of the Rings 5e.
Yeah,
right?
Crooked Moon, stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
Really well.
What was that one called?
Crooked Moon.
Yeah, Crooked Moon, right? Huge, right?
Yeah.
So that, and in that case, like, I kind of go like, okay, is this really you remember we both, some people are going to say that we lost and you won, but really we both won. Maybe whoever wrote that was right.
Well, when you first started talking about this, my brain was like, maybe this was their master plan all along.
No. Yeah. So you gotta go with Hanlon's. Is it Hanlon's razor? Right. Like never attribute to any
malice,
action.
What could be attributed to foolishness or something,
to incompetence.
Incompetence. Yeah.
Right. Because think. I mean, you and I are pretty tied in with a lot of stuff. Wizards' reputation still sucks.
Yes, it does.
It sucks, and I don't think it actually. I don't think it's deserved. Right. I don't think they've really done anything that terrible in the past, 2 years to warrant having such a crappy reputation. I think they've done a lot of good.
They did the one big thing, and there's so many people that have not forgiven them. And we, even if we kind of forgotten about it, we still have this like bitter taste in our mouth when we think about them.
And I'm like, where's that coming from? Right.
It's because they broke our trust. This is like you literally, like, you're married and your wife or your husband, they sleep around on you.
I haven't had an affair in 2 years, honey.
I know, exactly. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You broke my trust once.
Right.
We had a sacred agreement that had been in effect for 20 years, and you broke my trust.
Right.
And that's all it takes. And now it's hard for me to trust you. It's just the way it is.
And so, you're absolutely right. And then the question was, okay, well, trust with what? And that's why the PDF thing matters to me.
Yeah.
So there's a concept called a Ulysses Pact. Have you ever heard of a Ulysses Pact?
No, I haven't.
So it's I heard the term first from Cory Doctorow, who writes all about tech, corruption in technology, right? Corruption in giant technology companies, and he refers to this thing, a Ulysses Pact, based on the tale of Ulysses being tied to the mast, so that when the harpies are singing, he can't go forward.
Yeah.
And a Ulysses Pact is essentially when a company sets something up that they can't take back. And an example is releasing the 5.2 SRD, right? That is something that they did that no matter what happens in the future, it's always been released. It would be highly impractical for them to be able to try to pull back the 5.2 SRD.
Right.
It's even more impractical than it was for them to bring the 5.1 SRD out of the OGL, and that we saw how well that went. Right. So that is an example of something that they can't take back. Foundry letting you download the software, add your license, and it never phones home again. That's a Ulysses Pact. You know that you can trust your copy of Foundry as long as you back it up, as long as you have a machine to run it. You don't have to worry about the company staying in business.
Yeah.
You know that you can always be running Foundry. Putting software in open source is an example of a Ulysses Pact. Once it's in open source, you can't take it back out of open source. Right. There's a lot of shenanigans you can do. Oracle is, Red Hat, they do a lot of shenanigans with open source stuff. But generally, like, once you've made that pact, you've done it. Releasing PDFs is a Ulysses Pact, right?
Yep.
I don't have to try. If Wizards of the Coast gives me a PDF copy of Dragon Delves, if I buy it for $20 and I get a PDF of Dragon Delves, I don't have to trust Wizards not to be dicks later. Because I still have it, right? I still own it. And for the truth is, that's pretty much the case of all of D&D, because I have physical books. Right? They can't, like, Jeremy Crawford's not going to come and show up with a Sharpie and start editing my D&D 2020.
But your house could burn down.
He kind of did, because he made an errata and then I took a Sharpie to it to mark the errata. So it kind of happened. So a question that I have, and I don't have a good answer to it, is like, what are things that people at Wizards of the Coast can do today to protect D&D from the future bosses?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and that example is, like, putting out stuff in Creative Commons is an example of that. And I don't know what other examples there are.
Why do you think okay, so I have a question for you. Before I ask the question, we have a giveaway going on, guys, and this is probably
do the giveaway. You asked me to remind you about the giveaway.
Yeah, this is your last chance to sign up for the giveaway. You can earn $50 DM Lair store credit and get a whole bunch of books for your games. So there's a link in the chat. Click it, join the giveaway. I'm going to draw the winner in just a little bit here. So my question for you, Mike, is it sounds like there's so many benefits of them putting out PDFs that would earn people's trust and goodwill and type of stuff. What do you think's holding them back? Because they've dipped their toes in the water.
I have an answer to that.
Okay.
They don't have to. That is the only reason. They don't have to because they have D&D Beyond. And honestly, I bet you most people just don't care. Right? Most people don't so think a lot. There's a lot of people who have never lived with an internet before Facebook, right? Before centralized software, before music streaming, before YouTube. Right? They don't recognize that there was a time when you could download music and keep it. Right? There was a time when, you could buy ebooks and the book would stay on your device and you could have it forever before Amazon would wrap a bunch of DRM and then start to pull it back. Right?
So you're saying the modern audience is so accustomed to things being ephemeral that they just don't care.
That's exactly right. They don't even care. Right. And they might be right not caring. I have a friend who's like, look, you talk about how they got rid of all the 4th edition tools. You're the only one that remembers.
Yeah.
So no one else cares that they got rid of the 4th edition tools, right? That's not quite true. I have friends that, again, wanted to play 4th edition again, and they're like, what happened to those great tools? Oh, they're all gone. Right. So there are a few, but there's not a lot of people that are like, smashing the doors down at Wizards of the Coast because the 4th edition tools disappeared. Right. They were also built on technology that is totally obsolete. So you could, even if you had them, I don't know if they would still work.
Yeah. Because they're not going to maintain
So I think
them.
a lot of people are used to, and if they're used to an ephemeral internet, right? They're used to not owning stuff.
Right.
They're used to depending upon centralized services. I've seen this with D&D and Wizards of the Coast for many years, where people want them to be in a position of power so they can be mad at them. Right? They want to have that centralized group out there and say they're the one that's responsible for my woes or my things without recognizing, like, you don't need them at all. Right? Like, they're not in your gaming group doing anything. Like you and your 5 friends with the books are independent from anything Wizards does. And they're like, no. And so I see threads of like, I'm really mad that Wizards isn't, making a thing about, making a big book about fey creatures. And you're like, man, Luke's doing that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why do you need Wizards to do it? There are other publishers that are making great stuff. And there's a lot of people that are like, I really wish Wizards would take more chances and make different kinds of games. And, like everyone else is making different kinds of games.
Yeah.
Right? I wish they would embrace the principles that 4th edition had that were good. Check out Draw Steel. Check out 13th Age, right? There's other games that are doing that stuff.
Yeah.
But they feel like, no, it needs to have the D&D brand on it or it's not any good. That's really hard to break. But to me, it's a big problem.
Dude, I've played so many independent RPGs.
I know.
Now, and they're amazing. Mothership and Pirate Borg and Shadow Dark and Call of Cthulhu. And it's like, these games are really cool, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, because let's say like 7 years ago or so, I had never played any other RPG besides D&D. I was a D&D guy, that's it. Only D&D. Right. And then probably about 7 years ago when I started getting involved in the YouTube thing, I started going to conventions, I started trying new games and stuff. Right. And there's a lot of cool games out there, And I would argue that like right now it is a simple matter of fact that I would rather play Shadow Dark than D&D, hands down.
I as a GM, I definitely would. If my players loved it more, I would be playing Shadow.
I mean, I wouldn't care. I literally would not care. Like I'm running a D&D 5th edition 2024 game literally right now as part of a playtest for the adventures that are part of our upcoming Feybound Kickstarter. And so it's like I kind of have to do it because we're playtesting it, But like if I weren't doing this part of the playtest, I would literally tell my players tomorrow, guys, I'm running Shadow Dark. If you don't want to stay, that's fine. I'll find new players. Now I probably wouldn't be that blunt. I'd probably try to convince them, but in my head I'd be like, I'm not running 5th edition D&D. I'm running Shadow Dark, and I'm going to try to get them to come on board because I like them. The group of guys I have playing with me are amazing, so I want them to stay. But you know what I mean? I'd give them the hard sell.
So I had the group where I played Shadow Dark. We loved it. We played like a year and some months Shadow Dark campaign.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, they're like, we really like Shadow Dark. Yeah. We definitely want to play it again. But I do miss some of the bigger, crunchier character stuff. I do miss some of the other kind of character options and customization that we saw. And so we're like, okay, let's do Tales of the Valiant. And we did Tales of the Valiant, right? And enjoyed that. So it's still
Tales of the Valiant is I've looked at it and flipped through it and stuff. It looks like a carbon copy of D&D 5th edition.
We're definitely seeing differences, right? It definitely plays differently than I mean. So I need to I need to qualify. I have written and a fair bit of, or not fair bit, but I wrote chunks of Tales of the Valiant, right? I was like I wrote chunks of the Monster Vault and I wrote chunks of their Game Master's Guide.
Well,
so I'm biased.
Hold on. The monsters are definitely different. Monsters, 100% different.
Yeah,
they
Monster
punch
Vault is
harder.
different,
And the monsters, Kobold Press's monsters are hands down
really
better
good.
than D&D 5th edition monsters. Hands down.
Yeah.
I have all of their books, the Codex one, everything. Now, and the DMG is a different story, but I'm talking about like when I look at the player handbook.
Yeah, I'm just saying in general, my optimism, my optimism on Tales of the Valiant needs to be curbed by the fact that I was paid by Kobold Press. So I am a biased. I have a biased opinion. But generally, what I've seen is the classes and subclasses definitely play differently than I've seen with the other 5e. Definitely, different than 2014 and different than 2024 and different than Level Up Advanced 5e. Different, they have sort of different sort of stuff that they do. They have weapon masteries, but they're handled differently than the weapon masteries are in D&D 2024. But like, one of my disappointments is they really didn't do any work on spells, right? I really wish spells had been revised because there's definitely, we had our big counterspell talk. There's better ways to handle counterspell. A5e has a great way of handling counterspell where you don't lose the action, right? You might lose the spell, but you can still react to having been counterspelled by casting something else that's a lower level. So that is much nicer.
Yeah.
And then 2024 D&D has it where you don't automatically counter on a lower spell. And,
what you're saying about Shadow Dark and that some of your players regretted not having some more of the character options. I do see that.
They didn't regret it. They were just ready to play something that had more of it.
Understood. So I feel like when I look at Shadow Dark, that is probably the one little thing about it where it's like I can see how players might want to have more character options.
Yeah.
And
some survivability would be nice too, right? Like having a character that they can. I tell you, so like I have players who have characters that they want to watch grow over a long period of time, and you're not going to get that with Shadow Dark.
Be careful.
Right? You're gonna have.
Be careful.
Yeah, you're gonna get killed.
Be more careful.
right, but then too careful and like, what do I'm staying in this house and I'm not leaving.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. You don't want them to be too careful. But I'll tell you, so my team and I are beginning to design our own TTRPG. It's been an itch I've had scratched at me for years now.
Everybody's got that itch.
Everybody's got that itch, but finally I was like, because
I have managed to hold back.
I've been holding back. Mostly I've been holding back because like I didn't want people to think I was just jumping on the bandwagon of people who are doing it, but I've been wanting to do it for a while, and so we finally were like, you know what, let's do it.
Sure.
And so what I'm doing is it's rules light except for the character creation. I want players to have lots of options. So first of all, it's a classless system. It's a skill-based system. Okay, so similar to Call of Cthulhu, and also it's a D100 roll under system. So it is classless. It's not D20 based. We're doing something completely different. Okay, but it's rules light in the sense that like character creation, you're going to have lots of options and stuff to tweak it out your build and stuff, which I think a lot of players really like. But when it comes down to running the game, we're going to try to make it rules light so that because what I see in Shadow Dark is because it's rules light, the pacing is beautiful. Like you just go and you're playing the game.
Oh yeah.
D&D 5th edition, Pathfinder 2, the crunch just causes stuff to just slow down, especially in combat. I don't want that. I want it to be fast-paced, but I want players to be able to create cool characters. And like in Shadow Dark, I can see that as I think it's fine, right? But that could be a complaint, right? Or that could be a gripe.
Yeah,
where you're like,
and it's the funny thing is like I wouldn't want Shadow Dark to handle it any differently, right? If I'm looking for that kind of game, I have other games that I can play that do that.
Yeah.
And that's really what I love. And again, to me, the optimistic side of this whole thing, with all my moaning about D&D Beyond, is like in the end it doesn't matter, because I have way more systems than I can play, right?
Yeah.
And they all have these different feels. Daggerheart versus Shadow Dark. Like what's really interesting is those two alone are in such far spectrums of like what RPGs are like.
Yeah.
And yet we have both and we can play both.
Dude, I was at Gen Con and I was walking by and I saw a booth. They had this superheroes RPG. And I was looking at it and I talked to the two girls that were like ladies that were running whatever and learning more about it. And I was about to buy it, but then I was like, Luke, you have the Savage Worlds Supers game on your shelf and you've never played it. Why are you buying another one?
I never let that stop me.
I mean,
I buy all kinds of crap I don't play.
I get that, but at the same
library.
Okay, look, I have this massive bookshelf back there, and it's full, dude. I'm running out of room.
I know.
You know what I mean?
You need to do what I do and just get more shelves.
Well,
I remodeled my office and gave myself more shelf space, and now I got some room to grow.
I'm just not gonna buy as much. I'm not.
But yeah, the other kind of interesting thing about the whole, like, oh, it's not D&D. I wish Wizards would do this thing, is that not only are other people making these games, they were the people who made D&D. So like 13th Age was made by Rob Hainsel, who is the lead designer of 4th edition, and Jonathan Tweet, who is the lead designer of 3rd edition. Right? Like these are the guys who made D&D, and they said, we're making the game we wanted to make.
Yes.
So it's like, it's a more pure version of their view of D&D.
But the company wouldn't let them do it.
But the company wouldn't let him do it. The company wanted a video game, right? If you listen to all this stuff about it, they wanted for 4th edition, they wanted a video game. So like 13th Age is what 3rd and 4th edition could have evolved to, without any of the bureaucratic, any of the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But people don't count that. They're not like, oh, that's 13th Age. That's so small. They're like, no, this is like the purest manifestation.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah. Right, whatever you think of Numenera, right? Like Monty Cook, who was the lead designer of I don't know if he's the lead designer, but he's one of the design. I can't remember what his role was on 3rd edition. A lot of stuff out there made Numenera, and Bruce Cordell, who worked on a lot of stuff. He was there. And Numenera, whether you like it or not, is their kind of view of this is the kind of role-playing game that we wanted to make. So and I love them all, right?
Yeah.
And then Rob Schwab, right? Rob Schwab made he worked on 4th edition and 5th edition, and Rob Schwab made Shadow the Demon Lord and Shadow the Weird Wizard. Fantastic role-playing games that are really kind of capture his feeling on what this is.
Yeah.
So it's a great time. It's really a great time for RPGs, as far as I'm concerned. All my moaning. I think we're in the best period for role-playing.
I think the OGL crisis kicked off a renaissance, it has us in a beautiful place. It may or may not be the best place for Wizards of the Coast, but I don't care, because I'm being exposed to other amazing games and I'm having tons of fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I still think Wizards is making. I can't wait to get that starter set. Like that starter set looks really good. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Well,
I like D&D 2020.
We got to wrap this up, dude. So the winner to the giveaway is Kyle from Traverse City, Michigan. Yay. By the way, Kyle, I want to let you know that Traverse City is like my wife and my favorite vacation spot. We go up there a couple times a month at least. So congratulations, Kyle. I'll send you an email. We'll get you hooked up. So. All right, Mike. Well, thank you so much for being on.
It was
really
awesome.
Cool conversation. I always enjoy it when I have you on. I think I've had you on at least once before.
Yep, I think this is my second time.
Yeah. So I'm sure I'll probably bug you to come back again sometime.
Happy to come back.
We'll talk about something.
I could talk about this stuff all day.
So tell folks where they can find you and what you do and all that kind of stuff, just in case somebody.
So slyflourish.com. That's my website. All my stuff is there. You can subscribe to the newsletter. You can see my podcast there. You can get my go to my YouTube videos. I'm pretty light on other social media. Yeah. That's really where I focus my time. And right now I just started a new thing that I haven't even really talked to anybody about yet, other than my wife. My wife is my business partner, and it's going to be a while before it actually turns into anything that anybody's going to see. And we just finished the full, the last delivery of the City of Arches, which is available for purchase on my site and my Patreon. I'm pouring energy into my Patreon. I'm doing new products. I have a whole digital tool suite of downloadable, very simple downloadable tools that you can use to make your 5e games better. So spending a lot of attention there. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. That's spectacular. So folks, go check them out if you have not already. I'm sure a lot of people are like, yeah, we know who Sly Flourish is. Luke, you don't gotta tell us. So, well, thank you, dude. I really appreciate it. Are you gonna be at Gamehole Con?
I will. Yeah.
Cool.
I'll be there.
Hopefully I'll run into you. I'll be there too.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll run into each other.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just stay on for a second, Mike. We're gonna end it there, and we'll be back some other time. I gotta find the right button, and we will end the stream. Whee!